I'm Alex.
I'm Kirby.
And I'm Matt.
And this is the Real Gamerscore podcast. We are your source for Xbox achievement news, Gamerscore tips, and magicians named Randy. This week we talk about Neomaster buying a lottery ticket, Kickstarter games that definitely didn't get edited out, and updates to our community standards policy. But first, here's the song of the week. What if I wanted to climb, scale a mountain in time, because I can. I climb because I am Celeste. I've embarked on this marvelous quest to prove you wrong, wrong, wrong. Climb this mountain. Test me now, I will hit the peak. Alright, that's all.
I don't think we have any idea. Looking at our faces in the webcams, I honestly think we have
decided not to look at your faces because I knew it would trip me up.
Yeah.
So I put like the notepad over Skype so I can't see what you're doing. But I did move it towards the end and I saw you shaking your head around Kirby.
Yeah. I definitely not. I'll let Neo see if he can pick it.
I'm thinking about it.
I just want to make sure I get the name right.
Is it? It's one of those early 2000 songs. I'm trying to remember.
Mid.
Is it like MCR or something along those lines?
No.
Close.
Close though.
It's around that era.
Yeah, I'm thinking like MCR or AFI or something along those lines. No, it's 30 Seconds to Mars, right?
Yep.
Yes, it is 30 Seconds to Mars.
Dumb name. Not the band, the song.
I can't remember the name of the song, but I can picture the music video.
Yeah, music video is weird. It's The Kill, brackets, Bury Me.
Bury Me, yep.
Yes, it
Dumb
is.
name for a song, but
and
good song.
Obviously inspired by Celeste this week. It's a good game.
It's a great game.
All right, but if you would like to come in to the Discord and have a chat with us about how good my songs are, I mean, you can do that. I would like that. But you can find our Discord at discord.io/realgamerscore. For those who need a reminder, Discord is like a chatting app. I have it on my mobile. A lot of people use it on their PC to, chat. We have a lot of different channels in there for the games that we're playing and all the things that are happening around the place. So, one more time, that's discord.io/realgamerscore.
Yep. Just be prepared so that we don't need to ask you. Just be ready with ASL. Just as you come in.
Damn it, Chin. I was about to make that joke. You jumped right in there.
It's funny because I said that to a guy at indoor cricket last night. And before you all jump on me for that, he was a guy that played in our team for like the last 10 years and he'd been away for 7 weeks. And we're like, oh, ASL? And he didn't get it because he's 40, but it was funny. It was funny to me.
Yeah, that's an old school.
It's an old school reference, yeah.
Yeah, these days it's more like new phone who dis. But even then, that's probably
Exactly.
15.
I should have said that to him, actually. All right, you can find our Patreon page at patreon.com/realgamerscore. Speaking of patrons, we've got Matt on the show today. Hello, Matt. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
That is good. That's good, mate. We're happy to have you. And just so that everyone knows, do you have 1,000,000 gamer score?
I think I just hit it recently. I was just...
Yeah.
I think it was a very, very recent development. It might have been just in the last sort of hour before the show. I think I was working on some Magic the Gathering.
That's good. That's good.
It's our second millionaire on the show, Alex.
All right, well, speaking of millionaires, Chin's very rich from the Patreon money coming in, so we're going to draw our Patreon draw, which I think you said you were doing just a short time ago.
I was going to do it then. I decided to do it live so that you guys just so you don't think. And also, because I was late on the outtakes, I'm going to do another drawing for a $10 gift card. So a second patron will win, just because I was. That was my fault, and I'll take that. I'll cop that.
God, I need to make distraction from stuff more often.
So this is the prize for the ID at Xbox game. So you won't be able to see it because I blurred my background on Skype. Damn you, Skype! You've outsmarted me again.
We've got which it's game of choice for the patrons.
Yes, it's an ID at Xbox game of choice. Yeah. You might not be able to see that anyway. Ow! I hit the mic twice.
Oh.
3 times.
You're editing, right?
Yeah. Okay, spinning. You can't see that. Can you?
Well, it is an audio format, but we can see it, and it's it's me.
That can't though, can it? We can't have that, can we?
I mean,
we've got the video of it. Wait, do we record the video? We don't record the video, do we?
I can, but
we have the witnesses.
We both, you and I both saw it. It happened. It almost feels rigged, but he also has 3 entries in because he's just a higher tier patron.
He pays the patron monies.
Yeah. So,
I'll make sure I'll up that on my next opportunity.
That's the ID at Xbox game. This is the
Black Desert Super Ultimate Edition, right?
I think was the driving training. I think was the one that we were thinking about.
Yeah, driving essentials. Great. I don't know who that is. If it's him again, I'm going to punch it.
No, you can't win both of them, mate. What are you doing?
No. This is the worst random spinny drawing thing I've ever used, I swear. Who's that?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, what the fuck? That's rigged as well. My game share partner won.
Oh, that's
he gives us money every month, so he's entitled to win the same way everyone is.
Jeez. This has been an awful live drawing, especially when we move on to the next section.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking
if you know why we're moving on to the next section.
Anyway. All right.
Wait, no. When we move on to the next section, you'll understand why I'm laughing so much more than the rest of you.
What's the next section for the random to-do list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess who won that?
Well, before you tell everyone to do that, the random to-do list, so we have a list generated every month. The lists have come out in the last week. You get a random list of 25 achievements from your pool of locked achievements. It is governed by your game collection on trueachievements.com. If you would like to get a list, you can send ChinDocta a message or a message to random to-do list, either on True Achievements, or you can send a private message to Chin on Discord if you prefer to contact him that way. Yeah. So to enter the random to-do list competition, to this particular competition, you need to earn 1 achievement in the month of May, and you need to answer a trivia question, which is going to be a surprise to me as well, because this is the first time we're talking about May's game.
Yep. It's a surprise to everyone because I've not yet decided on a price. I have options with Ratalaika stuff, but I would prefer something nicer. So I'll wait till next week and see if I get something better to give away. Otherwise, it'll be Ratalaika games. So it'll be Super Weekend Mode, Iron Snout, Zeroption Invasion, Bird Game Plus, probably this new one, My Big Sister or something, that's coming out later this month. It'll probably be 5 or 6 titles, assuming I don't get something sort of nicer. Though 5 or 6 titles isn't too bad.
Stay tuned.
So next week we will definitely announce a prize. You still obviously can get your achievement unlock already. That's not time gated by our prize decision. So there's always that. As for April's winner, the prize was the Butterfly Shoot 'em Up Flutter Bombs. The trivia question was to send in another game with the word bomb. We had 11 entrants. Do you want to take a stab at who won?
Don't tell me.
Yeah.
Don't tell me. No, you tell me. All right, tell me.
Neomaster, 47. and that's why
So you're saying I won 3 draws in a row, is what you're saying?
Technically, yeah.
Okay, so, well, I know you guys have a big backlog for guests for this show, but I think that the numbers are going to skyrocket after they hear this episode, because clearly...
See, they just want to be on the one where the prizes are drawn. So they don't want to be in the normal. It's random. I feel like it feels rigged, but everyone knows I wouldn't rig it because that sounds like effort. Like I'd have to, and I also don't get any benefit by giving the games to Neo. Like
that's true.
I'm not. If I picked Fug every week, because I game share with him, so clearly I'm getting. But
but you don't get any benefit because you buy all the games before he does anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I already have Flutter
So
Bombs.
we'll come up with our trivia question for next week's episode.
Yeah,
but
in
congratulations,
the meantime,
get your
Neomaster. Send me a
big winner.
PM on Discord when you hear this podcast, and I'll sort you out with your prize.
Great, and I'll make sure not to mention the winner in the thing, so it's a surprise to everyone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to go straight over to the news. So we've actually got a pretty big week in terms of things that are happening. I just hopped into the Cross Atlantic Gaming Discord just before we started recording, and I've heard that Doc is standing down as one of the hosts of the Cross Atlantic Gaming podcast. So I heard he's got a baby on the way. He's got a new promotion at work, so he's, by the sounds of it, burning the candles at both ends. So just wanted to take a minute to say good luck, Doc. Hopefully everything works out, and I'm sure we'll hear you again soon on the podcast. I'm not sure exactly how many of our listeners listen to it, but I know I do, and I enjoy what Doc has to say. So good luck, mate.
I love the accent.
Yeah. What
great.
accent? Doc's accent?
Yeah, Doc's, not yours.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't do a Doc accent.
I love his accent. I just love the way he talks. 100%.
All right. So, Chin, you've got the next two news articles. Take us through them, please.
Yeah, so we have a little bit of Borderlands controversy. Mainly Randy Pitchford controversy, because guy can't help himself.
They're the same thing, yes.
Yeah. So, the first bit is that they made the big Borderlands 3 stream, and they made announcements, and his big announcement was Borderlands 3 will not have microtransactions. And then, 20 minutes later, a news article came out saying, whoa. We will have microtransactions. There'll be skins that you can buy and cosmetics and some minor, experience boosts and item drop boosts. The item drop and experience are only up to a certain level, I think. So, obviously, if you're looking at end game stuff, they won't have an effect, but it's just sort of getting you to that point a bit quicker. And clarifying that what Pitchford did mean was there won't be a premium currency or loot boxes. Now, I don't think this was a malicious or deliberate attempt at him to try and get garner some good feedback by saying there's no microtransactions when there was. I think to him, microtransactions are when it's an egregious, we're removing stuff from the game to sell back to you kind of thing. Like loot boxes where we're keeping all the good weapons hidden so that we can get money from you. I think that's where he is trying to push that word so that these minor, cosmetics and stuff, again, in the mind of the general public, sort of aren't microtransactions. They're just a part of how the ecosystem is now, rather than that they are microtransactions, because that's exactly what they are. So I think attacking him for this is a bit harsh, but it's still not a good look when you say the exact opposite of what you're doing.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, Randy Pitchford has had a bit of an interesting history when it comes to announcements and controversy. I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole medieval times USB stick thing, but that was a whole...
Magic tricks.
Yes, exactly right.
He did a card trick, didn't he, for 20 minutes on it?
Yeah, he was... he is a magician, and that's the thing, and it's all about misdirection, right? But... I mean, you're probably right. It probably wasn't a malicious thing, but I also feel like it's a bit of a problem to say, oh, well, actually, microtransactions aren't this; they're actually this. And it's because I mean, I'm against microtransactions in pretty much all games except maybe free to play, where it makes sense. But the idea of saying, well, you're moving the goalposts, so it looks like what you're doing isn't as bad as what you're actually doing, and it's okay, sure. It's but I'm not going to give them a pass for not putting loot boxes and and pay to win elements and premium currency in their game just because they don't have them when they still have other microtransactions. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You either have microtransactions or you don't. Obviously, some are worse than others, but going out there and saying that you don't have them to try and garner support is not really the way to go. But you're probably right. He didn't do it on purpose, but I think it's just the thinking is a little bit different to the end consumer.
Yeah, it's changing that narrative of what microtransactions are, which, I mean, the more he gets to change it in general, for just as a game developer, the more you get to change that, the better it is for you and not the consumer.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that I agree with you when you say he didn't intentionally mislead people. I just think Randy Pitchford opens his mouth sometimes so that he can stick his foot in it. He loves it. But you're both right. I think he's moving the goalposts. I'm reading this article here, so we're looking at this article on PC Gamer. I don't see anything in there saying experience boosts, which I don't agree with, because I think one of the Assassin's Creed games, either Odyssey or Origins, had something like that, 2 times XP boost.
Yeah. Odyssey did, yeah.
It was Odyssey. So I think that's one of the things that's kind of predatory. It's like, do you want to pay? It is a pay to win element. I think that is crap.
So
but I think.
Sorry, no, go finish it.
I think that if they're going to put microtransactions in for cosmetic items, then I don't have a problem with that. I've said before on the podcast, I think Rocket League, and I'm not blinded because I love the game, but I think Rocket League does a very good job of their microtransactions. It's totally optional. You can get some pretty cool stuff from it, and you can get keys to open things at times without paying money for it.
I think,
and it is just cosmetic. Really. Yeah, no one gets you don't go faster because you've got the heat wave decal on. You don't boost faster because you've got the data stream rocket boost on. Mm-hmm. It's just, if you want to look cool, you can look cool, but also you can just put on the totally stock Octane and wreck people, and it might make them even madder. I don't know.
Yeah. So the $80 deluxe edition of Borderlands 3 has cosmetic packs and XP and loot drop boost mods. I think it was assumed then that those would be purchasable outside of that. I'm not 100% sure. I remember not in this article, but elsewhere it being mentioned that those would be purchasable. I don't know whether that's assumed or not, though.
Yeah, I think that's usually the case of what happens. And going back to your point about the XP boosters and that kind of stuff, the problem is, and this is something, an argument, and I'm not going to get too deep into it, but the idea being that when you have something like an XP booster for a video game, a lot of people will say, well, you don't have to buy it, it's all optional. But the problem is that when a developer puts that in there, clearly, first of all, if it's not necessary, then they wouldn't put it in the game, because they want you to pay money for it. And the other thing is that I don't trust developers to not stretch their games out or make their games grindier to try and incentivize those things. I don't trust developers not to have the microtransactions affect the design. I mean, we saw that kind of stuff with Forza, I think it was Forza 7, where the grind to get some of the Ferraris and some of the high-end cars was so massive that it was just basically, it's like, oh yeah, you could earn them, but you would spend hours and hours and hours grinding currency to get them, or you could pay $5 and unlock all of them. And it's like, well, okay, if that $5 option was there, would the grind still be there, or is the grind there to help incentivize that sort of thing? And that's the kind of worry that I have around a lot of this stuff. But, I mean, if it's going to be just cosmetics, then, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. And Borderlands has already done cosmetics in the second game, for example. Yeah. So it's not exactly new territory.
It's essentially the same kind of stuff that they've done for Borderlands 2, just in Borderlands 3. And I presume the pre-sequel as well, given that that's in between them. But I imagine the same kinds of things that they did for those games is what's happening here. So it's, nothing out of expectation. Just, is what it is, really.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there will be another max level achievement that there was in, at least in Borderlands 1 and 2. I can't remember if there was in pre-sequel, so
and
it's going to be the achievement hunters that suffer.
4 pieces of story DLC as well, as far as, or extended, similar to the DLCs that we had in the previous game. So it's Borderlands, really. That's what we should expect from them.
Mad Moxie's Riot 4 times reskinned.
No.
Doesn't sound
All
too
right,
bad.
well, speaking of the magician himself, he seems to have got himself in trouble with the voice of the Claptrap. Kirby, what do you want to tell us about this one as well?
Yeah, sure. So, the original voice actor for Claptrap is not returning to Borderlands 3. He had offered to... He was an employee of Gearbox at the time, of Borderlands 1 and 2. I don't know about the pre-sequel. I don't think it mentions that. But he was an employee at Gearbox, so he didn't get additional payment for his voiceover work because he was just doing it as an employee. Now that he's left the company, he's offered to do the Borderlands 3 voice work for free if he gets paid royalties he would have earned from those first 2 titles. And an apology for... Well, I don't know if the apology for the physical assault that he alleges Randy Pitchford did to him. He alleges in a hotel room he was assaulted by Pitchford in a hotel lobby, at GDC 2017. Again, allegations, I don't know if that's happened, but he's also said that he wants that back pay and an apology, an official sort of apology for that. Neither happened, so he's chosen to not do the voice work for Borderlands 3. Randy Pitchford came out before this voice actor came out and made sort of claims against the voice actor, saying he was bitter and disgruntled, and he was highly compensated, and how generous Pitchford was, sort of playing the victim, which I can't think of any specific instance, but it's a very Randy Pitchford thing to do. The microtransactions. He attacked the news outlets who, quote unquote, attacked, who made the stories about saying there are microtransactions. He came out on Twitter and said, "You guys knew what I meant, and you guys are just doing this to make me look bad." And so he does often play that victim role.
And another example of that is actually when Game Informer was supposed to do the big reveal for Borderlands 2, and I think it was Eurogamer or one of the other publications that actually got the scoop on it and did the release first. And basically Randy went on a bit of a rant on Twitter, basically calling them bad journalists, which is the opposite of what they are. But and so playing the victim is nothing new for what Randy does a lot of the time when it comes to when he feels personally attacked or things aren't going the way he wants them to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I do wonder what this means for Borderlands 3, because obviously Claptrap is going to feature in the game. So I don't know, I've talked on in the past about how changing names for people mid-series, I find it really jarring. But I think, after about 10 hours in the game, maybe less, Claptrap will sound like Claptrap. It just takes time to warm up to it, I guess. But I imagine that there's probably some sort of furor going on somewhere that people are salty and very unhappy about it. And, I mean, I wonder if it was just about the money, if Pitchford would have gone, yeah, all right, I'll pay it. It's like, oh, you want me to apologise? Nah, sorry, no Claptrap in Borderlands 3. Sorry, no. It really doesn't sound, to me, it doesn't really sound that out of sorts for Randy to say something like that.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
the voice actor's moved on to bigger and better things. He's head of game publishing at Rooster Teeth, so he was one of the leads to put out Bendy and the Ink Machine, which is, I hear, a very good game. I've yet to play it. I'm pretty sure it's just too expensive for me at the time. Yeah. They didn't send me that spicy review code. I think I sent him an email probably, but you don't catch any fish if your net doesn't go out.
All right, we're going to move on to the next article here. So, Chin, this one about Dragon Age 4. You brought this one to the table as well. I think so.
Yeah, we won't... I don't want to stay on this too long. all that's really happened is 3 of the lead key team members of Anthem have left the Anthem team to move on to Dragon Age 4. It was the executive producer, lead producer, and lead director. I don't know what those jobs are. Those are just job titles to me. Like, I don't know specifically what they did on the game and whether they are needed at Anthem anymore. Like, this might just be a case of their part of the job is done. They were there to launch the game, and now it's launched. They might need to move on. But from my perspective, it feels like BioWare had a lackluster Anthem launch, which they did. It's a bit of a buggy mess, which it is. And they've gone, okay, we'll just try and right this ship with the staff we've got, and you guys focus on making a good Dragon Age 4. This one's done. We're not going to worry, like, this is not going to be a success anymore. This is, it's hit the iceberg. We're just going to keep it afloat for as long as possible. And you guys make sure Dragon Age 4 is going to be good. The 2 new team members in charge are Chad Robertson and Ben Irving, who do something at the lead producer and head of live services. So, Anthem has had a rocky launch. It's not 10-year life cycle. I think support cycle. I think they were boasting. Its first 90-day roadmap has been delayed indefinitely because of bug fixes that they weren't expecting. So that will come out eventually, hopefully, fingers crossed. Dragon Age 4, they've moved on to make it a live games as a service model. Is that pushing it away from its single-player RPG roots and into something that fans might not necessarily want? Who knows? Apparently it's being built on the framework of Anthem, so that obviously not the same flying javelins and whatever, but that same style of game where the story is on one side and the action's on the other, and this feels like, to me, it's going down a path where BioWare is going to get shuttered by EA, as EA tends to do after 2 or 3 failures or not meeting expectations, which is a horrible word to use, but they don't meet expectations, and they get shuttered, and EA move on, and we are really upset at EA, but EA weren't. I don't know how much hand they had in the games BioWare have put out recently.
Looking at, I think it was the Jason Schreier article that came out recently about development at BioWare of Anthem, and that a lot of people thinking that EA was really the reason that didn't go well, and obviously they played a part in it, but it looks like the way BioWare has gone over the last few years since Andromeda and Anthem is that, Dragon Age is really going to be their last chance before they get shuttered at this rate. I remember before Anthem came out, where there was the discussion around, well, it's very different from what they used to do, but will it be, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do BioWare want to make, D&D style and sci-fi style RPGs for the rest of time, and maybe not. But this kind of half step they did with Anthem didn't really seem to work out. So I'm a little bit worried about Dragon Age as a big fan myself.
Well, for me personally, I don't hope that BioWare goes under, but I don't think they've made a game that's really interested me. I understand a lot of people are very excited about a lot of their properties. Alright, so we're going to move on to a serious topic now. So something that I saw around, and I guess if you're looking around at the Games with Gold release this month, you've probably seen some of this chatter around the place as well. But just the general dissatisfaction with this month's Games with Gold. The argument that Microsoft is putting all the good stuff into Games Pass rather than sending it to Games with Gold. So the games this month, we've got Golf Club 2019, we've got Comic Jumper, Marooners, and Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon. So I think it's probably fair to say, I guess you two might agree with me, but chime in whenever you're ready, it's not the strongest month that we've had for Game Pass.
We probably had worse, but it's definitely not up the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess if you look at the positives, there's no Xbox originals, so we can get achievements in all 4 of the games. The other thing I was thinking as well is you can't be a platformer and shooter every single month. You know, I would play probably both a platformer and a shooter, but what about the people out there that want to play a sports game? And no, I don't think WWE counts as a sports game.
Okay, just what if you could though? What if they offered, and you selected this somehow? It was 2 games, not R4, maybe 1 Xbox One, and 1 Xbox 360, or 2 Xbox One, whatever, of a genre of your choice. So you can say, I want 2 shooters and you can change it month to month. But obviously then, this is your January platformers games with gold, these are your January shooter games with gold, your January whatever games with gold. I mean, they would then have to offer more titles, but each one would be given to less people.
Interesting.
One of the things with games with gold is, as I'm aware of it, whoever is getting it through games with gold, the developers are getting their full cut of what they would normally get. So this could then lead to more AAA offerings because, I mean, most AAAs are shooters at this point, but I know I certainly wouldn't be vying in the shooter category of games with gold, so with theoretically less people in that AAA category, the people who want, as you were mentioning earlier, Black Ops 3, get their Black Ops 3 because less people are going to be vying for it or getting those titles. I don't think it's a great plan, but I think it's probably better than what
Yeah, I suppose thinking about it is that one of the sort of smart things that a lot of publishers and developers do with games with gold is that they tend to release or approve games with gold games through Microsoft that have large amounts of microtransactions or DLC or things that, you basically get them in for free and try and make money on the back end. The other way around, I suppose the only problem that I would foresee with that would be is if you start choosing your categories too niche, or you get something like me who owns just about every game I could think of. When you start getting into repeats and games that you already own and things like that, that's going to make things probably more aggressive rather than less is my worry. And also the managing. I mean, to be fair, games with gold, it doesn't always seem to be managed super well. We always hear about it usually like the day before. And changeovers are always a little iffy, and it can be, I don't know.
I wonder if that's a licensing thing. Maybe not a licensing thing, but do they just can't announce it?
True.
They have in past done earlier, but it feels like it's getting later and a bit more sporadic. Just kind of whenever we can announce it, we will. And you have basically until the first of the month to find out, really.
I'm almost certain that eventually they'll shutter it for Game Pass at some point when they move to next gen. I don't see them pulling that. You get 2 Xbox 360 games, 2 Xbox One games, and 2 Xbox 2 or Xbox whatever games in the future. I really feel like the program is just gonna end with the Xbox One, and that'll pretty much be the end of it. And I mean, of course, if everything's moving over to Game Pass, which is where Microsoft sort of sees a lot of their future anyway, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And that makes me wonder what the monetization scheme for Game Pass is. How much of a cut are the developers getting, or that's where without that information, I can't make a real decision of saying, they are definitely pushing towards Game Pass because developers want to be in there because they're getting, it's hard to say without knowing that stuff. And obviously we're never going to know that stuff, or very unlikely to find that out. But there must be a reason why developers would prefer to be in Game Pass than as a month of games with gold. Because
I reckon it's probably easier to get into Game Pass because you have, they put more than 4 games into Game Pass.
Yeah,
most months, every month. Yeah.
And obviously Microsoft's probably incentivizing it quite a bit, obviously because it's one of their big competitive advantages that they have over Sony, one of the few.
They're making an absolute fortune on the Game Pass revenue as well.
Except when they offer deals every month of $1 for 17 months of Game Pass.
Well, I redeemed the $1 for 3 months just so I can play, not just so I can play, but so I can play The Walking Dead Season 3.
Yeah.
I'll be finished that well before 3 months is up, and $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it like I see where they're coming from. It gets you into the system. You are more likely to repeat a subscription than to start a new one.
You mean forget to cancel a subscription?
Forget to cancel, let it lapse, that sort of thing. It's easier to continue being a customer than to start being a customer. So I can see that standpoint, but
yeah.
I guess
To be fair, we're edge cases in this. To be fair, I mean, our community in general, we play just about everything. When it comes to Game Pass being an offering, I mean, there's not a lot on there for me, but I use my rewards points to get codes for it. But it's the kind of thing where at some stage I'll probably end up just paying for it and leaving it in case something shows up in the same way that I do for Netflix, just because it's easier. And it's also, I think, about getting people into that streaming or that sort of games as a service mindset for the next gen. So when they eventually say, oh, actually, yeah, pretty much all these games are only streaming, or we're going to prioritize streaming for this, or you get bonuses if you get it on Game Pass or something along those lines, is to get people ready for that. Because, I mean, a lot of this stuff was, the precursors for this was talked about when the Xbox One was going to launch, and everyone lost their minds. I mean, quite rightly, to be fair, because the market was definitely not in a good place for that. But we've seen over the last few years of Microsoft sort of shifting in that direction, but trying to be a slightly more consumer-friendly about it and a bit more open about it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys? I'm gonna throw a few points at you. Just give me a short thought on them. Games with Gold are a free add-on. Microsoft actually not required to give them, and I'm sure the three of us and probably most of our community would remember a time when getting Xbox Live Gold didn't include Games with Gold.
I do not. I have been an Xbox Live Gold
Okay.
member only since the Games with Gold program has been in existence. I understand that previously it wasn't offered. My entire time with Gold, I've had Games with Gold. At this point, given how much multiplayer I play, the multiplayer is a bonus to my Games with Gold every month. If I'm being perfectly honest, I'm getting my rewards and using them in Gold because I get the Games with Gold. Not because I get to play the one day of multiplayer I do every 3 months with someone because achievements come out. Like, I mean, yes,
You
the
play
service.
Rocket League with me, mate.
Yeah, I
No
would.
gold,
I mean,
no Rocket League.
If I was gonna play multiplayer like that, I'd just play it on Steam and play with you there. Like, I use it, and I didn't think of Rocket League, to be perfectly honest. I'm purely thinking of achievement hunting purposes. So you've got me there, but for me, the multiplayer is less of why I'm getting the gold.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I guess
I understand that I'm the huge minority. I'm the 1 in 1,000 person who's doing that. But because this is why I'm getting it, it annoys me a little bit more that the offerings aren't great.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's understandable.
Ebbs and flows, but...
Yeah. I mean, I've been an Xbox Live member for almost 12 years now, and so I definitely remember the time before you basically didn't get anything. And the reason I have Xbox Live Gold is, like, I'm not a big multiplayer guy, as most people who know me would understand. But the idea of just, like, if someone wants to play something, it's about that ease of use. The same way Game Pass is like, well, if a game's on Game Pass, I can play it with my friends if they want to play it. If I have Xbox Live Gold, I don't have to worry about having to renew it. If someone wants to play online with me today, I can chuck a game in and get straight into it. And obviously there's the whole thing about paying for being able to play online in the first place, but I think we're well past that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess Kirby's shot my next point in the foot. We're going to buy Microsoft Gold, Xbox Live Gold, regardless of whether there are games with gold in it. I know for me that statement is true. What about Kirby? I guess.
I mean,
you might or might not. I guess.
I hadn't thought of Rocket League. Look, I probably will just for the sake of it. I don't necessarily know that I'm getting it because I absolutely need it to do the things that I want to do on Xbox. But because if I don't play Rocket League, I have 100 other games, 1,000 other games I could play. It's not the biggest deal to me. I think I kind of just get it because that's just what you do. Like, it's just. For me, It's a routine thing now. I get gold because you have to have gold. It's just one of those things you have on the Xbox ecosystem, and you just that's how things work for me, and that's just what happens.
And a lot of people have actually forgotten about the fact that back on the 360, gold was actually a lot more important because it allowed you, like, you couldn't party chat if you didn't have gold, and you couldn't use the cloud saving system if you didn't have gold. There was actually quite a few bits and pieces that once we moved to the Xbox One became standard for everybody. But I mean, Xbox Live Gold was quite important for the 360 stuff, and if you go back to the 360 stuff, it still pretty much is.
Yeah,
I actually found that out the other day with the party chat because my Xbox Live Gold subscription expired. And I went to talk to someone on my Xbox 360 and it's like, you can't do this. And I'm like, what? But yes, that did happen. In terms of my last point here, do you think people only care because PlayStation give out their PS Plus games? And I say that because I think PlayStation started first, and there's always that, Xbox versus PlayStation. But do you think people would care so much if PlayStation didn't offer the games? And I guess at times there's the general perception that PS Plus versus games with gold, the PlayStation games apparently are better. I haven't lined them up or anything, but the perception I see around the place is that they are generally better.
Yeah. From what I can tell, I mean, obviously I'm not a big PlayStation guy myself, but a lot of those AAA or AA titles usually end up on the service at some stage a few months after their release, after they've gone through their main sale. And I think part of with a lot of those games are exclusives, and I think that's why Sony can do that. Whereas Microsoft doesn't really have that leverage. You can't really go to can't go to an Activision and ask them to put Black Ops 3 on there, or putting a Call of Duty on there, or last year's Call of Duty on games with gold. It's kind of a hard ask. But when you've got Halo or Fable or something along those lines, it's a lot more it's a lot easier for them to do that. So I think that's kind of where that comparison comes from. I don't really know if it matters, to be honest. I mean, obviously the difference between the player bases between PlayStation and Xbox is pretty massive. I mean, the group's the same, but there's the number difference. So I don't know. I mean, it may just be apples and oranges, to be honest.
Kirby, you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I'm just looking up PlayStation Plus, the free games. So the free games for PlayStation Plus started in 2017, well after the 2013 launch of Games with Gold.
Really?
Yep.
I googled it the other day and it was a lot earlier than that.
The PlayStation Network launched in 2006.
Yeah.
That
But
might
I saw
have
2010.
Okay.
I wondered,
the
what did
first
I
thing I
say?
see here is the fifth month of 2017, so May 2017. Do I have a bad month checking?
No, you got it.
Might be before. Hold on. Maybe there's a second page. 2015. Well, there's more pages. 2013, 2011. I'm bad at scrolling on my phone. Apparently, there was a next button I didn't see. Yep, 2010. So 3 years beforehand.
Okay.
The other thing that PlayStation now have stopped is PS Vita games and PlayStation 3 games. So they only offer 2 games a month. Even that being said, when they were offering their 6 games a month, typically the offerings were of higher quality, at least on the PlayStation 4. You were typically getting better games than we, quote unquote, better games than we would be getting on the Xbox One. The PS Vita games were cross-buy, so if you bought it on the Vita or whatever, you could play, or cross-play at least, so you could play it on your PlayStation 4. So you were essentially getting 4 games for the PS4 and 2 for your PlayStation 3. There's a few more caveats with the PlayStation games. If you let your subscription lapse, I think that wipes it. Yep. So your slate is wiped and you are basically starting over, which is not something that happens with games with gold. You lose the Xbox One games while you do not have gold, but if you renew, you get access back to them. Xbox 360 games you keep forever because their stores are different. They don't have that sort of renting system like you do. I don't know what you were talking about before because I was too busy looking at my phone. I don't think that we want this just because PlayStation has that. To answer the initial question, I think now this has become an expectation.
That's where I think the whole issue is with the whole thing. The expectation. I think it's manifestly ridiculous that you're going to expect things like Black Ops 3 come into the program every month. I think that that's insane.
Yeah.
That is ever going to happen. But I feel like when I read people talk about this, it's that's what they expect is going to happen. It's like, do you have any understanding of how a business runs? You know, why would I work at a supermarket and give you my biggest seller, Coke 2 litres, for free?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would I do that? It's just ridiculous.
I mean, I think that when you have good months in this program, and we've had some amazing months, that starts to become sort of the expectation of this is the level we're at now. Any less than this is underperforming, as opposed to this is an above normal month, and you know we had an awesome month. This is not the standard. This is a beyond expectations.
It's kind of six of one, half a dozen of the other, because obviously there's the consumer expectation that they have a good month, so this should be the good month. But to be fair, Microsoft control the program. They only have themselves to blame for setting that expectation, right?
Yeah. For me personally, just before we move on, I love it when there are months where there are 4 games I'm not interested in playing. Because I can just get through my backlog. I wrote my whole whiteboard back up on the weekend.
Is that a genuine
remember
love?
how many...
Like, is that genuine?
I love it, mate. Put Golf Club, put Tiger Woods in there, put Madden, mate. No worries. I love it because
do you
it
just
gives me a
redeem
chance
them
to.
Just in case you ever.
I do redeem them just in
Okay,
case. Of course
cool.
I do, but I'm never going to play
just
them.
making sure you're not a crazy person.
If sometimes, look, if they're not, if they're on the 360, I don't always log on my 360 and redeem them.
Just do it through the Xbox Store. Just click on.
Doesn't
True
work.
Achievements. We have a link to the store. You just click that button on the front page. You click the button, and it'll take you to your Australian store. You just click redeem, and you're done.
All right. Okay. And then, all right, cool. Then
it'll automatically install to your 360. You have to go into that, delete it from your...
Oh, okay. No, I wasn't sure where you were going with that. I thought it was going to give me the new Subverse game or something. But
we didn't talk about that, remember?
No, we didn't. But yeah, I love it. I love it when there's a month where there's games I'm not going to play. But in terms of this month specifically, I think I'm interested in playing Marooners, even if it's playing with 4 controllers to get all the achievements. And I think Comic Jumper looks pretty interesting. I think Earth Defense Force, I'm sorry I don't have a spare 200, 300 hours at the moment.
Yeah.
And the Golf Club, like I said, it's not for me, but hey, for people who like golf, that's one of the better games out there.
One of the best, yeah.
More power to them.
Yeah. Tiger Woods is making a comeback. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
This is a strange world we live in.
It is. All right, we're going to go to this one here. This is kind of like one of the topics we used to do here, but it is also a news article. So Rebecca Smith ran an article on True Achievements. It's titled Microsoft Updates Their Xbox Community Standards. For me personally, I'm a bit nervous by this. Chin, I think we talked before the show. You're not so nervous about it. But Rebecca's done a real solid here. It looks like she's read through their, whatever it is, a press release about it and highlighted some of the specific clauses in the policy that would apply to us as hardcore gamers and achievement hunters. So I just want to pick out a few that make me nervous, and if you guys have the article up, if there's some that you want to point out, by all means jump in whenever. But the first one here is give another person access to your Microsoft account. So that makes me worried in terms of the future of this game sharing thing that we have got going on. Selling or attempting to sell that, your gamer tag, whatever.
So just as a heads up, so this comes up under the essentially clause 5 of their standard, which is fraud benefits no one, and this is essentially trying to fight against fraud. So more in the sense of where it comes in later of trying to sell things for benefits on your console. So charging another player to help them complete a level in a game. Something like where I'm giving you my account and $10 to beat Titanfall 2 for me. Because
that would be breaking that rule for giving compensation and giving another person access.
I feel like that's where it's trying to target as opposed to you can't game share anymore. But they've got to be broad, because if they're not broad, loopholes are more easily found. So for me, in this one, by having such a, where they could literally use that for almost anything. If you came over to my house and signed into my console, technically you are accessing my Microsoft account. But that's not what they're like. They need to have that broad so that when they go, no, you have broken terms, they can't go, oh, but you didn't mean for this. Well, they've said that basically covers pretty much everything under the sun. So yes, they have.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the middle with it, because obviously Microsoft will do whatever they want. To be fair, at the end of the day, if they want to ban your account or suspend you or whatever, they'll just do it. And even if you complain, it's like, well, we can do whatever we want. You've agreed to all of our terms of service. This is just guidelines that we put out there to make it clear.
Another one that kind of makes me nervous here: trade game lessons for Xbox gift cards or other compensation. Now, just so I'm clear on this, I've never had game lessons from someone.
What about the time we played in Rocket League, Alex?
I was giving you lessons, mate.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Why do you think you had such a sick night when I got to Platinum? Do you think you just did that by yourself? All right, this is a topic for offline. But I think there's a service, I think it's called Gamers Ready, I'm not 100% sure. But some of the professional Rocket League players that are, grand champs, have played pro, they're that, or, all that in a bag of chips. They do offer coaching services on there. I don't know how much they go for. But you can go on there and you can get coached by, I think Squishy is on there. Verge, who used to play pro and has gone into coaching a lot more. But I would like to have that option to me, because to have, I think, an hour or 2 hours of someone's time like that would help me get to the next level a lot more quickly. Now, if that all of a sudden becomes against the terms of service, I mean, what am I going to do? Go buy the game on Steam? Well, I guess I could buy it on Steam and go get lessons there and then come over to Xbox. But it's just, yeah. Who does that really hurt, though?
I think it's...
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's to do with, again, covering themselves when it comes to things like, fraud and people stealing or, not getting their money's worth. I mean, the thing is, you give someone, $20 for a couple hours of teaching you how to, how to be good at Rocket League. God knows it would take a lot more to teach me. But
start sending me $20 an hour and we'll find out.
This is where all the Patreon money goes. But thinking about it, like, if that turns bad, or suddenly the person runs off with the money, or you don't get what you pay for, there's no real recourse there, because that's not technically a real transaction that's taking place. There's a lot of trust there, and of course, when you've got all ages involved in this sort of thing, and you've got kids potentially getting duped by potentially unscrupulous elders, you get to stuff where
Nigeria,
exactly right,
princes and have fallen from grace. No, yeah. To take light of the situation, but go for it.
Yeah, exactly right. It's the kind of thing where Microsoft doesn't want to be in the middle of that. They want to have some clear guidelines to say, look, we don't allow this, we don't support this, and if you're going to do it, you run this risk. They basically just are wiping their hands of it, which is understandable, because it's not really their bag. I mean, I'm sure most people are going to do it, and I mean, if you're smart about it in a way, you wouldn't use the Xbox Live messaging program to send stuff. And outside of that, how would they prove that you've done this? Is the other bit, I'm sure, which we'll get to, about policing.
Yeah.
I think if someone sees this and goes, oh, I should stop this thing I'm doing that I'm, because I'm ripping off kids or whatever. Now even just putting the fear in them that I should stop this because, consequences could get serious. That's probably enough for Microsoft, to be honest. If it deters 10% of the people who are doing this in an exploitative way, that's probably job well done for Microsoft.
All right, so there's a few more clauses here. I'm going to read them all out because I think they
also these are under for example don't. This is not like hard and fast. If you do this, you're done. This would be an example that we could say is fraud and you could get in trouble for. They're not hard and fast as they might seem.
So we've got here, manipulate game stats to increase or decrease your standing in a game. Use multiple profiles, unfairly manipulate your multiplayer rank. Circumvent in-game economies through money drop lobbies. Okay, that's probably fine. Use unauthorized hardware or accessories. So the three of those, apart from the money drop lobbies, I'm thinking, does a Cronus Max or a Titan qualify as unauthorized hardware? Now, just so I'm clear on this, I think if you're doing that in a multiplayer game, sure, you should cop a ban for that. But if you're, trying to get it to run through, like say, for example, Gears of War 2, Seriously 2.0 achievement, you could Cronus or Turbo Controller a certain checkpoint in that to play over and over again to get your 100,000 kills. I don't know that technically qualifies, but is it unauthorized hardware? I mean, it is vague. And the other two sound like, hey, I mean, we, just the other night, Shadow and I were sitting in gun emplacements in Battlefield 5 trying to get blown up to get this guy an achievement for doing so. That's manipulating game stats. So, I mean, maybe I'm being nervous Nelly here, and I'm not usually nervous about things, but they sound like, hey, don't be boosting video games.
Okay. So this comes under harmful behavior has no place on Xbox, specifically cheating, tampering, and the use of exploits. And I think, honestly, even just saying that heading probably covers any concerns you have. Would you, or a regular person, consider that cheating? The duplicating in-game items, for example, in a multiplayer game, yes, cheating. Using outside hardware to be better at a multiplayer game, yes, cheating. Using it in a single-player game, probably not so much. Manipulating leaderboards is iffy. If you are in a very active game, yeah, probably cheating. If you are playing Graw to get the leaderboard achievements, probably not, because there are very few, there's just not enough people on there to, the people going for it obviously will call you out for cheating, but, sitting in what you said, a gun encampment to get an achievement, not ranked, casual, probably not cheating.
Battlefield doesn't really have, I don't think they really have ranked. Anyway. So
I understand where you're coming from, but if you are thinking it's cheating, it's probably, again, it's just that deterrent, I think. If it puts someone off from maybe we could get the leaderboard blockers banned. There's a couple of leaderboard blockers on Kane and Lynch.
I was literally just thinking about Kane and Lynch. I was like, oh yeah, I can really move up to that one and two spot. I won't say the
person's name, but he's quite a person.
Yeah.
All right, and we've got this last bit here. So this last section relates to piracy, which I'm against, and unauthorized use, in inverted commas, of games. So there is play a game before its release date. Now, that is a problem. I think it's kind of... I don't know how they're going to enforce that, but, Kirby, you would know this probably better than Matt and I would. How many codes do you get for games that are before their release date? I would hazard a guess that it's probably most of them.
Of the codes I get, the majority will be before release date. Again, I think this is more targeted to, for example, Kingdom Hearts 3. That was put out into the public a month early. That is visible from Microsoft's end. They can see that you're playing Kingdom Hearts 3. Now they've got it in there, in writing, that they can then remotely brick your console, if they want to.
Yeah, and to follow on from the review code sort of idea, is that most of those review codes from developers, as far as I'm aware, are bought by the developer with the express intention for review, so they're tagged as such.
Yeah.
Well, I saw someone say that in the article, but I also saw someone suggest that was not the case.
So I don't know how they handle it on the developer end. I assume there is some indication that, the pre-release codes must be completely different, because if you're getting a standard code, it's still locked by that pre-order window. So you will have the game tile there, but it says it's pre-ordered. You can't actually access the game. So pre-release codes, I believe, are handled differently on the Microsoft backend. I can't imagine they'd be automatically flagged in any way.
Was it those pre-release codes that we had the trouble with 3 or 4 months ago?
Yeah, those were the ones that had
stopped
issues.
Working?
It was the ones that were designated on. So at least, all of them going down means clearly Microsoft have some way of seeing that it is a legitimate pre-release code. Like there's just a kerfuffle on their end. We don't need to worry about that now. But yeah, it's to cover. Again, it's very broad, very vague, covering them in whatever situation needs to be covered. Personally, I don't think many of these rules are outside of what they already had.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Now it's just been clarified so that there isn't the loopholes that you can say, well, no, I actually didn't do this because of this reason. 99% of their users are going to be unaffected by this change, quote unquote change. It's more of a clarification than anything. Look, until someone gets done for doing something legitimate, I know it's probably not the best attitude. I don't really think there's a need to worry until something goes wrong. Yes, it's vague, but I can understand the reasoning behind it being so vague and broad. I think you're jumping at shadows if you're panicking over this. If you're panicking, legitimately panicking, there's probably a reason for it. It's probably not a good reason. If you're just concerned, I think you're probably just jumping at shadows and thinking the worst of something without anything happening.
Well, I'm saying there's a lot of things here that look like this last one here that made me nervous. Share your profile with another person.
Yeah, same here.
So I think, that's everyone who game shares. That's people. I don't want to single them out, and I'm not saying that they're doing the wrong thing, but is there a user that's called Jesse and Chad?
Chad and Jesse.
Chad and Jesse. That's two people that... Is that not two people that share an account?
It's fairly sure it's a spouse who share the account with each other.
It's like if that all of a sudden becomes against the rules, come on, seriously. Anyway, I hope that you guys are right, and I hope that I'm just getting nervous about things that need not be getting nervous about. But I guess, like you said, we'll find out when Microsoft starts swinging the hammer on things.
Oh, yeah. And we'll find out very, very quickly, too, especially considering the circles we tend to follow.
Yeah, there is... Yes. Where is it now? 1 second. There was something about changing your region.
Yes.
Yes, that was the other one in there. Changing your region to be getting the games with gold. Yeah, I did read that somewhere.
Not even games with gold, just to take advantage of sales, for example.
Don't appear in your region, which, as you know, Australians and New Zealand, we miss out on a lot of stuff.
Now I can't find it.
I reckon it was in this article, and I think it's been edited.
No, I'm looking at the proper community standards page. It was definitely in here.
Yeah,
I read it. I read it on this article, but I think it's been edited.
The second section is where Xbox Live features have been restricted, whether it's because of regional regulations or because of account suspensions.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Try to circumvent regional content restrictions.
Yeah.
And it's not in the words by Microsoft, but Rebecca's words suggested that, changing your console region to get the United States free games, one leaves, or changing your console region to get games with gold. I don't know why they would enforce that on us, though, because we change our region so we can give them more money.
Yeah, the only way I could see it potentially being an issue is around tax and around the actual, where the money comes from.
Fraud.
Exactly, right? But to be fair, I think it's such a minor issue that it's one of those things that they need to keep in there because the lawyers told them they need to, but it's one of those things that no one will ever have any trouble with unless unless you're doing the old Oman thing where people were getting free games or whatever it was, where it was in the extreme.
Yeah. And again, if you're panicking over that, there's probably a reason for it. That's probably what causes me the most concern out of everything, but again, I'm still like, it's probably not as bad as we're expecting. It does come under number 6, where there are limits, there's a reason. One of the lines is, for the safety of all, it's important to respect deliberate limitations. The limitation is they couldn't afford to pay our ratings board to get a rating. That's all it is.
Yep.
One thing I
$2,000 or $3,000 I've heard to get a game rated in Australia.
Yeah, something like that. One of the things I did find funny. Oh, sorry, go Matt.
I say, and if they don't get rated in Australia, a lot of the time they don't even bother moving to New Zealand either. So,
yeah. One of the things they've got under the keep your content clean heading is know the difference between trash talk and harassment, and they give examples. Shall I read them out?
Read them, because this made me laugh.
Acceptable trash talk includes, get destroyed, can't believe you thought you were on my level. That was some serious potato aim, get wrecked. Only reason you went positive was you spent all game camping, try again kid. Cheap win, come at me when you can actually drive without running cars off the road. That sucked, get good and then come back when your KD's over 1. Going too far looks like, get sexual threat, can't believe you thought you were on my level. Hey, profanity, that was some serious potato aim, get wrecked trash. I won't read the next one. Cheap win, totally expected from a racial slur. You suck, get out of my country, maybe they'll let you back in when your KD's over 1. That kind of insult would never even cross my head. Just leave the country, get deported, come back when you're good enough. And I'm sure it's probably a real example of a message that was sent over Xbox Live.
I'm sure all of those are from a single Fortnite session, actually.
Yeah. I think if Microsoft decide to start enforcing that harder, there's going to be a lot of people banned on Rocket League. just say that. All right, well, let's finish up with this. One thing that just popped into the top of my head, Rocket League got bought by Epic this week.
Oh,
All I'll say on that is, Epic, please don't ruin Rocket League. Please don't do it.
Yeah, there are positives and negatives to the story. I think having more money into the Rocket League ecosystem, being able to offer better prize pools at esports. Yes. Hopefully they don't butcher the esports, because Rocket League is in a reasonably good place for esports, at least in terms of how things are run. If they run it like they ran some Fortnite esports league stuff, it's going to be awful. Having more patches and updates and improvements to Rocket League is not a bad thing, and hopefully that's what happens. Hopefully better servers, more servers, that's always good. I think the pros outweigh the cons, especially considering they've said they will continue support for, they'll continue support for Steam for everyone who has already purchased. I think up to a certain point, they'll move it from Steam to the Epic Store, but everyone who already still has it on Steam will be supported.
Yeah, it makes no sense for them to do anything else.
Yeah, unless they just gave a free key to everyone on Steam to Epic, which I don't think that'd go over well.
No.
And all of your stuff transferred. If you had to change over to the Epic version and you didn't have your titanium white octane, how annoyed would you be, Alex?
Do you know I've got a titanium white octane?
I know, that's the only reason I mentioned
it. Apparently
that's a good thing. I don't...
If anyone wants to swap my titanium white octane for a, was it Dueling Dragon Goal Explosion, I'll swap you.
On Xbox.
On Xbox, yeah.
Won't work on other systems.
That one wasn't in our news articles, but I just wanted to bring it up briefly. So we're going to have super duper change of pace right now. We've got a review slotted right in here. Prue and Mighty Mango are reviewing Windscape, so take it away, guys.
Enjoy your tiny break away from our talking.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's review. I am one of your hosts, Prue, and joining me is Mr. Mighty Mango. How are you?
Doing all right.
So, we played a game this week.
We did. We play games every week, don't we? This week we played Windscape, developed by Magic Sandbox. and then published by Head Up Games. It was released March 27th, 2019 for the fantastic price of $19.95.
So, what did you think of Windscape?
I thought it was a poor man's Oblivion, or kind of like Zelda if it was done in like the 90s in 3D. The graphics leave a lot to be desired, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's obviously meant to be pretty simplistic, but it's really sharp polygons, so it definitely kind of invokes the feeling of like an N64 game, and not like in a good way.
Yeah, everything bad about it. Everything seems lifeless.
Yeah, it's all blocky and sharp.
Well, which is kind of interesting because we play a lot of, you and I have both played Minecraft, and Minecraft is blocky.
Well, yeah.
But characters seem to have life. Everything just seemed bland.
Yes, bland is the right word, I'd say. It feels very much like this is my first attempt at making like a game like this, like a 3D game maybe or something.
Yeah, that's actually what I put in our notes too, but that's kind of what I was thinking back in I'm going to age myself here. Back in the 90s, I did some computer design stuff doing like animation. And it was in the olden days where the computers didn't have enough processing power, so you had to send it off to a supercomputer to have it do the processing. And the graphics are almost identical. Very blocky, polygony, kind of lifeless.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot of detail in anything. It's just plain and like you said before, kind of boring.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's a poor man's Oblivion, so it's a first-person sword fighting adventure role-playing game.
Yes, you could put. I just wanted to say one more thing about the graphics before we moved on. I just wanted to say that
sorry.
they are, to their credit, they're very bright and colorful.
Yes,
so it wasn't like you weren't going through just slabs of gray and brown like you do sometimes. But but the gameplay is, you could call it Oblivion light. But we're talking very light. We're talking stripped down to almost nothing. There's essentially, you have a melee weapon, either a sword or a hammer, which behave exactly the same, or some sort of a magic spell, and you just go around and smash right trigger towards the thing that's moving, essentially.
Yeah, turning towards you.
Yeah.
The movement isn't very distinct. It just kind of moves.
Yeah. It's okay. It's not too big of a game. Really, there's only 3 islands in the whole game, and 90% of the island is just empty space in between where you're going, which actually got tedious, was the walking.
Yeah.
It's so slow.
It's extremely slow.
That was not fun.
No. There wasn't a lot of fun to it. I didn't have, like, a lot of times, even when a game is boring, you can try to make some fun out of it, where I can walk around, I can hack things. There wasn't really much excitement in that either.
Yes, that's the other component to the game, is there is a rudimentary crafting system as well. You can chop down trees, and there's only a handful of things that you can collect, some wild mushrooms and onions and stuff like that, but they're like probably less than a dozen, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say about less than a dozen, and that's how you can that's all you have to make things with.
Yeah. And that's just for like basic potions, like getting your health back and stuff like that. So it's really is very, very basic. There's no depth at all here.
No. It's no, it's not. I'm trying to think of something positive about it.
I don't. That's the thing, and I feel like I'm coming down pretty harsh. That it's not a bad game. It just has no good things. There's no redeeming quality to it. It's just so bland.
I can't think of anything astoundingly bad, but I can't think of anything really highlighting like, oh, this is interesting. You should try this.
Yeah, it's just competent enough not to be bad. But
that's actually a good way to phrase it.
Yeah, but it has no good enough qualities to make it interesting. So it just sits in this middle ground area where you're just like, okay, I guess I'm just going to walk around for a bit today. And it's not very compelling, I'll say.
I'm glad the game is not as long as Oblivion or Skyrim or any of that stuff.
Yes. Yeah, this will probably set you back about 12 hours, I'd say.
I think that's a fair guess.
Maybe a little less, depending. I can't remember specifically. Probably 8 to 10, maybe 12.
Yeah, I think TA says 8 to 10, and I think that's fair.
Yeah. And there's no missable. So we can talk about the achievements now. There's nothing really you're going to miss. You're going to hit everything on the way to the end. So that's good. And none of them are particularly challenging or anything like that. So it's
basically for getting to certain destinations. Yep. Like you got to a cave or the mine. Here, you get an achievement. You killed 5 enemies or whatever it was. You get an achievement. You crafted some things.
Yep.
You get an achievement.
Yeah. Yeah, was there 16 achievements, I think?
16 achievements for 1,000.
Yeah. So it's a kind of an uninspired list, but it's definitely doable. I did it in just a few nights' time. But probably other things you might want to play first.
I will say that if you're looking for quick points, let's say you just need a quick hit, you can get about 450 points in less than an hour.
Yeah, they do come pretty quickly right in the beginning, and then they spread out quite a bit towards the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really know that there's really much else to say on this game.
No, I think this is pretty straightforward. It's if you like first-person sword fighting, role-playing-ish games, maybe it's up your alley. But for the price, $19.95, it's pretty boring, and there's not a lot of depth there.
Yeah, I mean, I like Oblivion, and the other thing it was compared to Zelda, and I would be very hesitant to recommend this to anybody, just because. Just go play those games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's going to be it for Windscape. Sorry, this is kind of a short episode, but there's really not much to talk about.
No.
Yeah, so that's it, and we'll hand it back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Prue. Thanks, Mango, for that review. We're going to throw straight over to our special guest, Matt, who has got a million Gamerscore, if you weren't aware. He's going to tell us about what he's been playing this week. So, Matt, did you like that intro? That was a good intro.
Oh, yeah, it's factually accurate, so great. Appreciate that.
Factually correct. All right. Well, let us know what you've been playing this week.
So it's been a bit of a mix, a bit quiet, but I've been working on Pillars of the Earth, which I actually picked up on disc when I was visiting the States last time. It's an interesting sort of narrative game by Daedalic, so they've done a few other sort of point-and-click adventures, that sort of stuff. It's based on a really, really popular book. Apparently it's like the second best-selling book next to the Bible or whatever claim they make. It's got a really beautiful sort of hand-drawn art style, sort of like a old medieval sort of picture book. I'm about halfway through it, and it's really interesting. A lot of characters, but it's a little bit jank. You know, it's not super well polished. But the voice acting's interesting, and the story seems cool. But it's one of those sort of, it always falls along those telltale lines where it doesn't feel like a lot of the decisions matter at all. But it's interesting nevertheless.
Is that the Ken Follett's?
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I own that.
Yeah, definitely worth playing.
I wanted to play it, but I was like,
yeah. There's the walkthrough is really good. It's got one small little error in it, but I'll let you know when you play it.
Yep.
I've also been doing Roblox, thanks to our friend Rattleless Hedge for strong-arming me into that one.
Were you there when we did that 4-player achievement?
Yeah, that was us. Yeah, we were all together doing that one. So apparently Cameron needed that one, so he roped me into playing it. So I'm nearly done with that.
How many days are you in?
I just hit 10 days yesterday, so another 10 to go, and then we're all done.
Don't trip at the finish line.
I think I'm still at 0. I really just need to log in and do it.
I've just been, every morning I wake up, get changed, have a shower, usually not in that order, and then come down and play a bit of Roblox and then go to work.
Hopefully not in that order, mate. You got a washing machine, right, mate?
Water crisis. And I've also been playing Grid 2. Back to that. Jester was asking for some help with that with Random To-Do List. So I've been... he actually already found someone to do it with him, but now I'm back into it. And thanks to him for reminding me how bad at driving I am. And also, I was wondering, how do you get 6 seasons of racing out of it? I remember when I started it because it showed up on my Ultimate Head-to-Head last year or the year before. And one of the achievements was for getting to Season 3 of the races, which is about about 30, 40 races, different events. And when I got to season 3, I thought, this was a fun game. And then I look at the guide and it's like, oh no, I'm actually only halfway through the game. There's still another 3 seasons of 30 to 40 to 50 races that I need to drive around in a circle for a bit and try not to crash. And I don't understand. There seems to be a sort of a theme with driving games where they're always just sort of, they're always sort of taking the piss when it comes to how much racing you actually have to do to finish them. I mean, I'm not a huge racing guy myself, but it just you hear about Forza and Horizon and stuff doing, hundreds of hours of the same sort of races over and over again. Not typically super challenging, just really monotonous. I've also been working on Magic 2015 on the 360. I was just working on that a couple hours ago. I just finished up getting all the cards for the offline stuff, so now I just need to find someone to boost the 100 online wins with. Really, really great game. I mean, it's Magic. It's pretty much what you expect, although the AI, it obviously cheats. It's got to cheat because it always gets the exact wrong card that you just do not want to show up.
Is that the game that Planting's playing at the moment?
I think
Or is he playing the Xbox One version?
He might be playing the Xbox One version. I've got that in my backlog as well, so at some stage I'll have to start that up. But
is it free?
I do not know. They did do the free version. So 2015 was the last paid version. I think they did up to 2012, 13, 14, 15, and then after that they just went into their sort of free-to-play online service version. Okay. The online service one is the one that takes forever and you'll never ever finish. Well, you might actually, Chin, considering you do Lies of Astaroth. Speaking of grinds, I've been doing my Neverwinter, my daily login. Obviously, yeah, that's it's exciting. I turn it on after doing a Roblox, go straight back into Neverwinter, log in, get my key for the day. I'm like, oh, cool, no new content. All right, heading off. But
the new content's coming soon, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Under Mountain.
Yeah, Under Mountain. So that's I think it's June 11th for the Xbox and PlayStation. So Warren and I, I'm sure we'll be super best friends and get back into that. And I'm
Undermounting. Fun fact: Undermountain. Where is it? Where is it, Alex?
It's near Overwater.
No, Waterdeep. Close.
Waterdeep.
Oh, it's next to.
It's under Waterdeep.
Fieldy Good or something. Yeah, it's good.
I'm out.
You didn't think I was going to get anywhere near it, did you?
I thought you were just going to abuse me again, to be honest.
I just threw a dart at the board and it managed to hit, so let's not get too excited.
I was going to say, I feel like I was having deja vu. And then sort of my last big game that I was playing over the weekend was Vampire, the Don't Nod, Life is Strange developers video game.
What are you thinking of it so far?
It's a really good concept. It's a fantastic concept of being, a new vampire in 1912 London, trying to, the dirty streets and the Spanish flu going around, and it's all just awful, and you're just trying to make your way through and figure out, what the hell happened to you and how you became a vampire and who turned you into one. And it's a really interesting game. The mainline story is kind of a bit waffly, but the best part is really the side quest, because the way it works is in order to gain large amounts of experience, you can get small amounts for fighting enemies, but the large amounts of experience you get to level up are from the NPCs that you meet throughout the game. You lead them into dark alleys and drink their blood. So you can do that pretty much as soon as you meet them. They have some requirements, but you can't do it all with story characters. But the way to increase the amount of experience you get from them is to actually get to know them, talk to them, do side quests, and make friends with them, and then betray them. So
oh wow, okay. I was like, oh, this is a wholesome game. Oh wait, no, it's not.
Yeah, no,
okay.
It's definitely not. Yeah, so it's the good friends to you, and suddenly their blood experience goes up, and you take them into an alley and just drink it, and suddenly you can get claws, or you can turn invisible and that kind of stuff. So
just when you're saying there, just if I can interject for a second,
sure.
With the story, how are you finding the story so far? Because I like the way that Don't Nod tell a story.
Yeah, I think one of the things I liked about Life is Strange so much was the interactions with the characters, because that really was the story. I mean, there was that overall narrative with the missing girl and that sort of stuff, and the life at school, but the characters you interact with Chloe and Max and that sort of stuff was really where the best parts happened, where you had those conversation trees and you had those sort of little mini side quests and going back in time to give the correct answer to something, and that really well fleshed out conversation system. So it is that same sort of thing where you're getting really good dialogue, and a lot of intrigue, a lot of like murder mysteries. Obviously, because there are other vampires around, you're finding dead people and you're trying to figure out what happened to them. And sometimes it turns out it's just made to look like a vampire attack, when it actually it's just a murder of a jilted lover sort of thing. But the mainline quest is really about you trying to come to terms with being a vampire and figure out who the person who made you actually is. But by the time I got to the end of it, it got so waffly and so pretentious that I just kind of lost interest in it, unfortunately. Like, it had a really, really great start, but just didn't seem to stick the landing.
So when you're saying you have to find out who turned you into a vampire, what, do you have no memory of anything before you turned into a vampire?
Sure. So basically what happened was that someone basically snuck up behind you and bit you, and you died.
Oh.
And so you wake up in basically a collection of bodies of all these people who have died from the Spanish flu as a vampire. And you basically, you have no idea where you are, and you're trying to figure out what happened, why you were picked. And then you also have to interact with other vampires and various factions who are hiding. Some of them, are the high-ranking ones that rule over London in secret, like the Illuminati, and then you have the ones who hide in the sewers. And you're kind of trying to figure out the various factions of, who might be the person that turned you into this and why did they do it.
That first minute of that game is that first sequence is so powerful.
Yeah.
And then it turns into the rest of the game, and it's
it's
not a bad game. Just at the core, what is at its core is brilliant.
Yeah.
But then there's everything around that core that kind of makes it lose its luster.
Especially when it comes to things like the combat. Like, the combat is really rough. It's obviously Donald's sort of first time doing that kind of stuff, and it really shows. Like, they've gone for a sort of Dark Souls light system with a stamina and a health meter, but you also can drink blood from the enemies and use it to heal and special abilities. But it's really janky, and it doesn't really work well when you're fighting multiple opponents. The camera is a little rough, but it's such a great concept and core idea. And like you said, that beginning is so good. It's just kind of let down by the things around, the mechanics around it as such.
When does Blade turn up?
I mean, I think that's going to be the sequel. I think because we all know that Blade 2 was really the superior one.
I agree. And we don't talk about Blade 3.
No, well, Blade 3.
Exactly.
Those are movies.
But yeah, I would say it's definitely worth a look. It's on Game Pass, so I mean, you lose nothing by giving it a try. There is one achievement in there for not feeding on anybody for one whole playthrough, which is really difficult, because that means you essentially don't get any extra experience. You basically have to really pick and choose what kind of abilities you get. There is some tricks you can do if you have the disc version with a USB keyboard that I'm sure you can find on TA. That's very, very helpful. But outside, if you were trying to do it legit, you'd be struggling.
Okay. All right. And that was your last game for this week, right? So
Yep. How many scores?
Yeah.
Well, I saw that ProfessorPluto was sitting on 2,140, and I realized that I was also on 2,140. And I thought, oh no, we're at the top of the leaderboards, but we're tied, so I couldn't have that. So I went and did a couple of achievements of Magic before the show. So I'm at 2,185.
That is the correct decision to make, because we all know Alex does not play any video games before the podcast. He is just a sitting duck at that point.
You guys are ducks. Alright. Taking advantage of my sport playing Monday nights. I don't like this. And my get home and eat my dinner and podcast Tuesday nights. Alright. I'm going to go second this week, Kirby. So
Sure.
Yeah. Alright, so I've played a whole bunch of games, mainly because of the random to-do list. As I mentioned last week, I finished my whiteboard, so I've started on all the other games. So, being that we're in this competition for a random to-do list, it makes sense. I'm going to play those games. I've scored 8 in the random to-do list so far. But I started off playing a bit of Walking Dead Season 3. Now, I don't actually have a random to-do list in Season 3, but I do in Season 4. So, I can't skip that. And also, my fiance likes the Walking Dead games, so we play those ones together. All I'll say about it, it's not a spoiler, but, well, I mean, it's not really a spoiler. I won't say what happens, but at the end of the first episode, when you get back to the junkyard, man, I was not expecting that. I was totally gobsmacked. And so it's obviously a major event in the game. Like I said, I won't say what it was because there's people that won't have played it yet. That alone kind of makes me miss Telltale and what they could have been if they had been managed differently. So I think playing this game has made me think, you know what, maybe I was a little bit harsh when I said I'm glad Telltale are gone because they killed Ruben. I think maybe I was slightly overzealous on that call. But yeah, I think if that's what they've got in store, and Kirby, I mean, you've been saying for a few weeks that season 4 is the bee's knees, so I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Season 3, there are a lot of those moments where maybe you're not necessarily something unexpected has happened, but just those big moments that move you. Season 3 has a lot of those. Telltale, I think The Walking Dead was their highlight. Season 1 was great. Season 2 was it was okay. It wasn't spectacular. Season 3 and 4, they brought it. I'd forgotten about that moment. They brought it back, and I'm thinking about it. Season 3 was quite good in terms of storytelling. It did some things well. Season 4 is amazing, but yeah, that's definitely where Telltale shined.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, my fiance said to me, she's like, "Oh, you know, I miss playing The Wolf Among Us," and I'm like, "Oh, babe, we've got bad news."
We don't need to play it again.
Yeah. So I did the Minecraft updates this week, so there are worlds out for them. Thank you to It's Showtime, and I think Shadow Kizuragi helped It's Showtime make this world.
Both of them stuff.
I was thinking, why does that name sound familiar? Is it a member of TA staff?
Shadow
I
K.
thought that's why. I've played Inside, so I'm about 2/3 of the way through the game. I had to get the 9th out of about 13 collectibles, I think it is. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting story so far. I'm so far into the game, and I'm still not really sure what's happening. I'm on the run from some people for some reason. I'm hoping that there's a conclusion in the next 5 collectibles or whatever it is that I need. 9 out of 14, 9 out of 13, whatever
within
it is.
the collectibles?
Probably
not.
I'll play the next 15 minutes after it to finish the game, but I'm hoping that there's a conclusion.
I'd honestly say play it twice. Finish it without the last collectible, then go back, get the last collectible, and then finish it again. Because it plays differently when you have all the collectibles.
Does it really?
I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure the ending is different if you have all the collectibles.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ending changes if you have all the collectibles.
I think it's probably worth that. You know, it's an extra 15 minutes or whatever, but it's probably worth it if you want to know a bit more.
I think I'll watch the other ending on YouTube if I'm
it's not
brutally honest.
It's not like a book opens up and explains everything, but you might get some clarity as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
I'll definitely watch. I don't think I'll play it. I think I'll watch it on YouTube, which is typically what I do when there's a game that has 2 endings and there's no achievement-related incentive for me to go and do the other. But I will see it.
Watch the pretend ending before you finish it then.
Which one's the pretend ending?
The non-all-collectibles ending.
All right.
Watch that before you finish. I think that order is specific and important.
All right, I'll do that.
I didn't.
I will. I also played the Coma recut. Now, I think you and I were talking about this the other day when we were playing Rocket League, but I feel like it kind of starts off not as a scary game, like you're just hanging around at school. I feel like it's meant to be a scary game, and it definitely is creepy at times, but I feel like at times it borders on tedious as one of its features. No, not as a feature, but it features very tedious gameplay at times.
It's on the box. So
what I mean
very
by
tedious.
Wow.
You're released by tedious games.
There's a genre. You genre manager on TA, you could release a tedious genre. So what I mean by that is there's a monster that chases you. and you can't shoot it, you can't defend yourself from it, you can't hit it, you have to hide. That's the game mechanic. Now, there's at one point where I needed to get into the basement, and the monster spawns and stays at the top of the stairs on the basement.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, no, it's fine. It walks around the level, so sometimes you'll see it on different levels. But every time you went down to the first level, it would be there, and it would chase you. And I don't know, I just think that particular game design, it's tedious. And I ended up kiting it around the level. So I went into a long room, hopped into a cupboard to hide, wait for it to run past me and run out the other door, go down the stairs and into the basement. So I don't know if it does it on purpose or if the monster just kind of gets stuck. But so far, that's my only real complaint about the game. And despite me talking about that particular aspect, I am really enjoying it, and I'm enjoying the story.
Is that? Can you hold your breath in that one to get past the monster, or not? There are plenty of games similar to this. I may be thinking
you
of a different one.
can left trigger, and it ducks down. But
Okay.
from what I've read about that, it's pretty ineffective.
Yeah.
So I haven't done that at all.
I actually remember exactly the part you're talking about, which is it's towards the end of the game. Where you have,
Is it really?
I believe so. When you have to go down the stairs to hit the switch or whatever it was. I remember that.
Yeah, the shade is down in the basement.
I think that's the one. Yeah. So I remember that bit exactly, and I think the trick is that you actually had to do what a lot of people did was a dodge mechanic that really doesn't work super well. Like you have to try and slip.
Yeah, there is a dodge. It's tough to time.
It's
that.
really tough. Yeah. But no, you're right, and it feels like it's that sort of difficult balance when it comes to those kind of games where you're helpless. It's like, well, it starts off being horror, and then eventually it becomes tedium.
Yeah. Just scrolling through the walkthrough, I need to replay certain parts of it to get the remaining achievements, but it looks like I'm just on halfway through what's written in the guide.
Okay, yep.
Actually, no. It's got the replays in this, so you might be right. I might be nearing the end of the first playthrough and then go back.
Replays in there.
Yeah. Okay. But it is fun. It is fun, so I'm not crapping on it too much. Celeste, obviously I talked about Celeste in the song of the week. Man, Celeste is a good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I know I've heard people say this, but, you kind of don't really get how good a game is until you play it. Now, I'm going to out myself as being a bit of a dill here, but I played the first chapter, and when I started the game, there's an option to turn assist mode on. And it says to you, hey, you should at least try playing this game without assist mode on. And I was like, yeah, nah. So I just turned assist mode on and said, yep, enabled as an option. Played through the whole first chapter. And I'm thinking, this is actually still pretty hard with assist mode on. Alright? I'm like, okay, I mean, this must be really hard without assist mode on. You can probably see where I'm going with this, but turns out that when you turn assist mode on, what that does is enable the assist mode options, and you have to go in and turn the assist mode options on. So I went in and did that after finishing the first chapter. But yeah, anyway, it felt like a real deal. But after I did that, I played through the second chapter as well. I was playing this for the random to-do list. I just got get the 30 strawberries, which is all the strawberries in the first level. So I played another chapter after that, and I'm like, I wanted to keep playing it. I actually still want to keep playing it and finish it, but anyway. I played Rocket League with Chin. We had a good session in there. I also I dived them. I won't talk about them because I played them for a short time. Demetrio's Big Cynical Adventure, Super Lucky's Tale, Shadow Warrior 2, Dead Island Retro Revenge, and What the Box. That intro music in What the Box, if you guys have played it, is sick.
There's music in that game?
It's like a guy almost like a cappella, kind of rapping, but he's just like saying words.
Rapping. Good joke there, Alex.
No.
Because it's a box.
No, it wasn't.
That was a good one. I like that joke. Moving on.
The Gamerscore, as Neo outed me in his roundup, 2,140 Gamerscore, and it's pretty much from just playing random to-do list games. So Yeah. All right, now we can go on to the sales because Kirby didn't do anything this week.
Sales
what'd
are
you
weak
play,
as hell.
mate? What'd you play, mate? Come on.
As with you, most of my week's been dominated by the random to-do list because we're in the that inter-podcast friendly little competition to the death.
To the death now. Okay. All right.
the death.
Maybe I will be playing. What was the game I said I wasn't going to play?
Recore.
Oh, God. Yeah, maybe I will be
This
playing
means I've been
Recore.
jumping around a lot. I did take out all my unstarted games from my game collection just so they didn't show up, though I think it was like 2 games because I do not keep that up to date. And most of my Kinect stuff just because I don't have room for a Kinect at the moment. Like, I don't. There's not 20 feet for me to maneuver in the room that I have the Xbox set up. I don't have a warehouse.
Yeah, neither did Microsoft, apparently. That's why they got rid of all of them.
So far I'm at 15 out of 25 on the random to-do list, which means I've played at least 15 different games this week, which is why my segment is so long. No, I'm only going to talk about 7 of them and 1 non-random to-do list game. That's 8. Count them. Count them as we go. 1. We're starting off with Zoo Tycoon Ultimate Edition. I had to get the breeding all color variants achievement of all the original animals, because this is the Super Edition that adds Australian animals and South American animals, or South American area. Luckily I'd played a fair chunk of this already. I'd already got a max level zoo in the challenge mode, so I could just go into sandbox mode, have unlimited money, and force the animals to love each other until they popped out a weird coloured baby. Which I did. Oh boy, did I do that. At the height of popularity, my zoo had 18 different exhibits with somewhere between 30 and 35 different breeds of animal. Just all, so, 2 different types of giraffes would be together because I always do 1 male, 2 female, give them a little harem to work with. Sort of 3/4 of the way through this process though, I started to feel bad because, a baby animal pop out, normal coloured. So I go, oh, you're taking up space in that exhibit. I'm going to sell you immediately. And the camera sort of has to zoom in on the animal when you go to sell it. So you see the little baby elephant with his little trunk playing with his mum and then wandering off into a crate to get flown off to whatever zoo I've sold it to. And
What noise do they make?
Huh? What noise they make?
What no? Sounds like it's just an unusually fart, mate.
You've clearly not heard the elephants in this game. No.
No,
For those playing at home, that's number 5 on the Kirby soundboard.
So I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad doing this because, I didn't care for, like, the tigers or whatever, but for whatever reason, like, the elephants and the rhinos looked adorable and I felt bad. And then I remembered that's exactly what I did to get my 2 dogs. So, at 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, when they're allowed to fly, they got ripped from their family and sent over to me. So, my conscience is absolved. Don't care anymore. I loved them more than their family would have loved them. I'm just gonna...
Okay.
I'm going to have solace in that fact. I had a couple games that weren't backwards compatible this week, so I had to fire up the old 360. I had to find the controller for it and check that it was plugged into a HDMI port because I haven't turned it on in probably like 8 months, I think. But I played Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures 2, as well as Iron Man 2. That's games 2 and 3. Pac-Man was okay. It's a 3D action-adventure platformer. I had to get all the high scores in all the levels of the second world, which I was halfway through, so it wasn't really that bad. Iron Man 2, I've only dived, and I remember really struggling with the controls. Like, I didn't grasp them at all. This time, though, I don't know what changed. I didn't have an issue. I breezed through it. Like, maybe I'd somehow turned the difficulty onto hard last time, because I remember getting destroyed by everything. And this time I was just like, oh, bang, you're dead. Bang, you're dead. Bang, you're dead. Just cruising on through. So that was all right. I played Ruby Grim Eclipse. That's game number 4. I love the anime, though the game itself is quite repetitive and bland. I had to complete the story in solo mode, so I completed it with Weiss, who's the best character, the W in Ruby.
Debatable.
Okay.
No, that's
I
the
don't
one.
know what you're talking about.
That's the one I always, because my girlfriend watches with me, and I always annoy her because she wants to be Ruby. I'm like, no, you're Weiss. You're cold as. So that's why I play as Weiss. I just prefer her now. Obviously, I also need all of the co-op achievements. So if there's anyone out there who's listening and needs those co-op achievements, hit me up. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, oh, good. Neo needs them too. Because I think I have the DLC as well to play as Juniper and Team Ranger. Chroma Squad, game number 5. It's a tactical turn-based strategy game, loosely, completely inspired by the Power Rangers, including different coloured outfits and transforming into different coloured suits, and then eventually becoming a mecha made of these different colours and fighting kaiju. So only loosely inspired. Same thing as Iron Man 2. When I dived this, I remember struggling and just not grasping the concept at all. I don't know whether, because I dived so many games, I was trying to rush. I didn't care enough to learn it. But there was, I got back into this and had a really good time. And it wasn't that difficult either. I had to get to the start of Season 5 out of 6 seasons and make a decision in the Season 4 finale. That affected me getting the achievement I needed. And I say seasons because the entire premise is, or at least at the start, you're recording a TV show. So, yeah, right. You have director instructions, so you have to maybe punch the boss every turn and defeat all his minions before you defeat him with a super team attack. So, and you get fans, and the amount of fans you get converts into money that you can buy upgrades with and whatever else. So, yeah, definitely not a rip-off of Power Rangers. It's definitely the Chroma Squad TV show, which is completely unrelated, of course.
I've got that in my backlog, looking forward to playing it.
Yeah, I was not looking forward to it this week. Then I played it, and I'm like, oh, it's actually pretty good, and I'll probably get the completion. I won't put off getting the completion, at least. If it comes up, sure. I'll definitely play it. Borderlands Game of the Year Edition. I needed to get 15 Claptrap bobbleheads for the achievement I needed, so I rushed to the end of that Claptrap DLC to fight the big major intergalactic ninja assassin Claptrap, or Mega, I don't know. The idle spot in the 360 guide, at least for me, no longer worked for whatever reason, so I had to find a new spot. I did find a spot. It probably wasn't as good as the original, but it worked well enough, especially when you have a pretend shield like me and you can't actually die because your shield is at a value so large it's rolled over into negatives. So I was idling that on the side, and I was playing Forza Horizon 3 on my computer. Those was games 6 and 7, for anyone keeping count. Forza Horizon 3, my achievement is to complete all of the bucket list challenges, which in turn requires you to upgrade all of the festival sites in that game. So I was sort of going along and doing my races and whatever, and slowly getting fans and opening new sites. Then I decided to sort of look at how many of this imaginary point I would need. So I think I'm at around 1 million fans now. Apparently you need 25 million fans to get the final upgrade to the festival. And the final story event happens at 10 million fans. And I must have played for probably 4 or 5 hours to get to 1 million. So I was like, this is definitely not something I'm going for. But I sent a message over to one of my Forza friends, one of my friends that plays Forza, because apparently you can do the achievement in co-op somehow. I'm not there's a co-op campaign where things you do in the co-op will also reflect back in your version. I'm not 100% sure, but he's maxed out his festival sites. He doesn't have all the bucket list items done, but I'm gonna see if doing a bucket list in his world where he'll have all of them unlocked at least, if that pushes my progress bar up, then I will probably just keep doing them in his world, because then I can just do them and not worry about actually upgrading my stuff. So that'll cut down a ton of time. and I realize I've been talking for a while, but this game definitely needs a mention. Absolutely. Game number 8, the game I played this morning, Rico. It's a first-person shooter. Technically, yeah, that's definitely what it is. You're playing as a cop, and you're doing like a series of drug busts or infiltrations into a gang hideout or something, killing bad guys, you defuse some bombs, you see some evidence, that sort of thing. You're given a map and some objectives. You kick down the door to breach in, and there's a bit of slow-mo, and you shoot some enemies, or you punch them or whatever, and you clear room for room like that. And it's really bad. Most of the enemies and yourself are like assets from the Unity store, probably, or the Unreal store, just used in the game. Stock is all hell. The enemies are quite bullet spongy on hard, and you need to do a hard playthrough. But they always go down in one melee swing. So you open the door to get into the room, and then you back out and wait around the corner for them to come, and you just punch them, and they die. So you wait for them to just sort of come around the corner, and you just keep punching them, and they die. But then, because if you charge in and go guns blazing, you will get shot a lot, and you will probably get low health. But then you're also discouraged to take it slow, because the longer you take, reinforcements will eventually arrive in waves. So you'll get a wave of 3 reinforcements as you're clearing out this building, and then a wave of 4 later, and so on and so forth. And then also sometimes the enemies open up the door and trigger the room for you, so without you knowing, so a door behind you will open because they've walked into it accidentally and opened it, and then you have 5 guys wailing on you from where you didn't know they were going to be coming from. So also they clip through the walls and shoot you, so the end of their gun will be out, and they'll be shooting you and taking away your health, but you can't hit them. It's unfortunately pretty horrible. But it has co-op, so there's that. I can get someone to carry me, and I do have someone who's probably going to carry me. But yeah, it's one of the worst review codes I've gotten. And then just before the podcast, I noticed I was at like 1700 Gamerscore and saw Alex on 20 whatever he was on, and thought, oh, haven't fired up a couple Radalika games in a while, so did 1.5 Radalika games, and now I got 3,225 Gamerscore. So holding up the table there, Alex.
Yep.
Sales.
Tell me about some sales.
Sales are not. Sales for quick and easy stuff is not great. There are a bajillion. Sorry, no, that's inaccurate. A bajillion and 2 season passes for sale, and sort of DLC packs, that sort of thing, for every game imaginable. I think all the Assassin's Creed have their season passes on sale on the Xbox One. All of the Far Cry's probably do. Like, there is a mountain of season passes for sale. It's ridiculous. There are more DLC items for sale than there are actual games. It's crazy. As for quick points, we have the Long Reach is 75% off, $3.74.
Oh yeah.
Easy points, the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle is 20%, $15.99. Well, you probably don't think it's easy, but I'm pretty sure you can just use unlimited continues to get through the game and get the achievement, so it's just bashing your head against a wall until you finish it, rather than having to actually be good at the game. And Knee Deep is 60% off, $5.99.
I really enjoyed Knee Deep, actually.
Yeah, it was weird.
I wanted to enjoy Knee Deep, but I think playing it for achievements kind of ruined that, unfortunately. But it was a really interesting game.
Definitely.
Okay. Recommendations. While I'm talking, I'll just do mine. Nippon Marathon. It's 40% off, $8.99. It's prime purchasing time, because insert marathon event here is happening, and so you should definitely, because of that, you should get this game. No, it's if you enjoy sort of so bad it's good games, you will definitely enjoy this. The collectibles are a little bit annoying. playing through the campaign 4 times with the 4 different characters is a little bit annoying, but you put up with it for the nonsensical gameplay and humor and hitting bowling pins with a trolley. Like, it's human bowling, but you get to jump in a trolley, Alex. Human bowling. There's also like a wipeout mode, which is fun.
I actually, when I saw this was on sale, I was going to put it in as my recommendation. Just because I knew you were going to put it in as yours.
I thought the same thing, actually.
Oh, you guys are terrible. Speaking of though, Matt, what do you reckon we should get?
So there's a lot of stuff on there that looks pretty good, but the one that sort of jumped out at me was the Spyro trilogy. Now, obviously, the PlayStation was the first console that I really played, so actually getting a chance to go back to that was a huge thing for me, and I had so much fun with it. And even my girlfriend was like, "Wow, you actually look like happy playing a video game rather than miserable and frustrated." But which was a surprise to me too. But I would say, yeah, it's only 25% off, so the discount isn't amazing. But I just think the game itself the 3 games are just so great that it's really worth playing. And the achievements are relatively simple, but it's a good list, not a difficult list.
And my recommendation, despite me complaining about it a lot in recent weeks, Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. If you're not going for the Foxiest of the Hounds achievement, it's a fantastic game. Just want to qualify that before I talk about it. But I've talked about it. I really enjoyed the game. The story in the game. A lot of the achievements are actually quite good as well. There's one for getting a non-playable character to shoot a cucumber. So, I mean, it's odd, but it's like there's just some things in there that are quite quirky that I really enjoyed. So, yeah. In terms of potential purchases this week, Neo, you've got a few on your list here, or you've got 2.
Yeah, I got a couple. So I'm probably going to pick up Nepal Marathon. Thanks for that stellar review from Kirby there. I've also grabbed the Shadow of the Tomb Raider Season Pass. I've been waiting for it to go on sale for a while. It's at 40%. I was kind of waiting for 50%, but at this stage I thought, well, why not? And the actual game itself is on Game Pass, so worth doing.
Yeah, I was considering that too. But I was like, I don't know how much longer it's going to be in Game Pass, and so then I'd have to prioritize it.
Yeah, I've done the main game already, so I'm just going to jump straight into it probably this week. I actually finished my video games, Chin. And then...
Oh! Cop that, you mug. Damn.
Oh, wow.
And it's the last time I'm invited on the podcast.
See you, mate.
And then the other one that I was looking at was Asura's Wrath, which I do actually already own, but I think is worth a shout out because it's unlike any game I've ever played before. It's just the most ridiculous quick time event, like over the top
He's
combat.
a very angry dude, isn't he?
Oh, he is just he's incredibly angry. Just there's nothing can stop him. It's really, really great. And the achievements aren't too difficult. There's a couple of frustrating ones about getting S ranks, and the DLC is a bit overpriced. But just for the actual experience and the sheer spectacle of actually playing through some of that's just absolute ridiculousness of a guy who's the size of a planet trying to kill you with a single finger it's just incredible.
Okay. What about you, Kirby?
I bought all those awful pinball games, Babylon Pinball 2055 and Quantic Pinball and Zombie Pinball. I have them through another person, but at 50% off when they were $2.50, I'm like, I'll just get them myself because they're not... I mean, they're kind of school-based, so they're not necessarily quick games. So I don't want to... I mean, I want to take their tag as little as possible. So I mean, that's cheap enough for me to jump on. Everything else I kind of either already own or I'm not ready to bite at that price.
Oh yeah, and for me, in terms of potential purchases, I am going to buy the Missing Link DLC for Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Human Revolution.
Yeah. It's a Missing Link.
I never played it. Never played it back in the day. Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna. I didn't get Foxiest of the Hounds in that edition either.
Oh, that's right.
Despite not setting off... Let's not go over this again because...
Did you try deleting your save and just running
I'm
through
going to
the whole
delete
game
you
again?
in a minute, alright? I'm going to come up there and I'm going to just... Yeah, alright. Let's move on to some new games, because I know you love talking about the new games.
I do. I love new stuff coming out. This week's a bad week for me specifically, but so on Wednesday we have Adventures of Bertram Fiddle, which is I think it's a point and click adventure. I didn't pay attention. Legend of the Tetrarchs, which is a Kemco game, so an old school JRPG style. Woodle Tree Adventures, which sounds like it should be a rather like a game. It's not. I think it's a sub-hour completion. Super easy. And it just... Woodle Tree Adventures. Woodle Tree. Do you have a Woodle Tree, Alex?
It sounds like it should be where the Paw Patrol hang out, in the Woodle Tree Forest, you know?
It absolutely should. You need to save all the birds from the Woodle Trees. They're stuck. So it's great. I love stupid names like that. On Thursday, episode 3 of Life is Strange 2 comes out. So that'll be exciting for Warren. And probably
We're getting close, aren't we?
5 episodes?
Is it 4 or 5 this time? I don't remember.
Probably 5.
I think they're doing 5.
I will look.
On Friday, we have Reverse Crawl, which is, I think, like the opposite of a dungeon crawl. You're playing as the bad guys against the good guys.
You're right, it is 5 episodes for Life is Strange 2.
And then Friday goes from a sort of fun little RPG dungeon crawler to the worst day for Kirby ever. Dragon Fangs, the Rose and Dungeon of Time, which is, if you've ever played the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, it's probably the closest thing we're ever going to get, is what it looks like. But it's a roguelite. For the King, which is a tabletop RPG roguelite. And that comes out on Game Pass though as well, so don't buy it. Just wait for Game Pass. And Lovecraft's Untold Stories, which is a roguelite. Oh, and Rico, the game I talked about before, is a roguelite.
You climbing back up the leaderboard?
I didn't intend to. Rico is not a roguelite yet. It will be though, because it is, but it's just so many, and they're all probably going to be $50 because there's replay value, and doesn't matter how awful our game is, you can play it again and again and again. I'm so bitter about how expensive this nonsense is.
Oh, I'm so glad you're crash test dumping those so I don't have to play them.
Yeah. I think Dragon Fangs is going to be great. I think For the King is going to be great. Just the fact that they're roguelites and I quote-unquote have to play them now is what annoys me. I think Lovecraft's Stories is going to be terrible. Tuesday, though, we have 3 good games coming out. A Plague Tale: Innocence. I don't know what that is, but I know I've heard things about it. And they were good things. But I can't...
I think it's a story-based game that's kind of like a bit scary. Yeah. Set in...
the plague times.
The BC times when there was a plague.
Backwards compatible.
Backwards compatible plague.
The introduction of backwards compatible, we just had a flood of 360 games that were made BC, and there were so many problems. Yep, gotcha. Sniper Elite V2 Remastered is a good game.
Yeah, it was okay on the 360.
Yep.
Of course you've played it, Neo. Good job.
Good, thank you. And Rage 2
That's what I'm here for.
Rage 2, that's the big one.
Yeah, that's stuff.
I hope that sells well, because I really liked Rage 1. I know it wasn't the same developer that made it.
Or who's
Rage 1 or 2?
Who's the parent for 2? Like, who's the bigger company? No, it's a big company.
For 2, it's Avalanche, I think.
Yeah, but Bethesda owns...
Bethesda
ZeniMax, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Rage 1 was really good. So I'm hoping that obviously apart from the ending, but I'm hoping that Rage 2 can kind of build on a good story.
That ending...
Oh, it was. The game just stopped. It just stopped.
So,
Rage 1
I was
just stopped.
So Rage 1's ending was the missing third of that game that was supposed to be there, right?
Well, potentially. It was leading up to the end of the game, and then the end of the game got you.
Just happened.
Like, hey,
yeah.
what? Okay. But
Sounds fun.
everything before that was fantastic.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. So, Knobs and the Discos.
Yes,
That's
just
the
the
name
one.
of Kirby's nightclub, in case you were wondering. Also, the name of our segment where we have unobtainable and discontinued achievements. So, Kirby?
Yeah, so do you remember ages ago I talked about Insane Robots? That was that a game that had the achievement, one achievement that was unobtainable, and the exact same achievement with the word new after it that was also unobtainable.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that
I-
them?
I
That
do
was-
remember
yes.
this.
So
Oh,
Cloud
yes.
and Clear, which was for leaving an acid cloud with one life, and they made Cloud and Clear new, which was leaving an acid cloud with one life. That and those two and two other achievements are now obtainable. They've changed Cloud and Clear new to Super Team, which is for upgrading your 8-robot team to average health 40 or more and average slots 6 or more. That's all mumbo jumbo to me, but they at least made it a real achievement instead of just keeping it the same one they had before. And
Well, at least with no one unlocking it, they're not shortchanging anyone, I suppose.
yeah, but those are now obtainable. They're fixed. People can get them now. So there's only one left in the game that can't be got.
So they're almost there.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
for unlocking all robots. Which, again, could just be really hard and no one's done it. Or the game's awful and no one's done it. Or it's broken.
All right. Well, that's all for the
Yeah,
Knobs and the
that was pretty
Discos,
much
yeah?
it. There's another
Alright.
minor title, but it's... Everyone that wanted to know already knew.
Okay.
Alto's
Well, we
Adventure
have...
died.
Maybe we'll finish up the episode with this community question, so
Sure.
we'll quickly run through the milestones, of which there are not many this week.
No.
So, what the Ferg has played 500 games. Hatton 90. Actually, Hatton shared that video in the Discord this week of him in the charity boxing match.
Oh, what was
I
it?
thought that was
Ultra white collar boxing. Wasn't that it?
something like that.
I just love that
Yeah,
game.
something like that. I actually watched the whole video. Like,
I will
on
watch it when I get time. I just don't ever get time.
Yeah, it was pretty
So-
impressive, actually.
yeah, oh, you watched it too. Yeah, that was good
Yeah,
stuff.
I did, yeah.
But he's reached another milestone. 2,000 achievements won. What, are you watching it now?
No, all BBC content will be leaving Netflix.
Huh.
Okay.
So it's come up. I'm sorry. It got posted and I'm reading it.
Well, Hatton
in
90,
2020.
2,000 achievements won. Shut up, Chin, you banana. Hatton 90, you're going to be in the ring with Hatton 90 next, all right? And he's going to knock you out.
I haven't seen the fight.
Hatton
It probably
90. Oh, Chin. Zip it up, mate. Hatton 90, 2,000 achievements won. Philip Wendell has got 8,000 achievements won. Kushmu's 12,000 achievements won. And Kingsman 2625 has hit 350,000 gamer score. All right, now, this week's question has been sent in by Philip Wendell. So, Philip asks, what makes a good or bad achievement list? I dread lists that force you to use a guide for collectibles or things you would never find on your own, force you to play the game multiple times, or finish something in a certain amount of time. I mean, did I write this question in and use the name Philip Wendell? I'm not sure. I love lists for a lot of open world games like Mad Max or Far Cry, though very grindy, but you can play the game and refer to a guide for things you miss. Have you guys had a think about this question, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah. In terms of bad lists, difficulties that don't stack. If the game,
yes.
look, if it's an hour game, whatever, I'll play it 3 times. You know, anything more,
You still
than
should
like,
do it, though.
You shouldn't. No, anything more than like 2 or 3 hours, if I have to repeat it on multiple difficulties, is just unless that all your stuff carries over, because then it's not that much harder.
It's a new game plus at that
Yeah,
point.
like a new game. Plus
Even that I don't like, though.
Yeah, I mean, the worst example of those are things like Star Ocean or Infinite Undiscovery, where you have to play a whole 100-hour RPG again on a higher difficulty. Love that.
Or Max Payne.
Oh, but yeah.
Max Payne, I think, was easy, medium, and hard. There wasn't even an achievement
And
for
then New York
easy,
Minute.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to finish medium or hard to unlock the next one, which I
Yeah.
think was Pain or Max Payne or something. Then there was New York Minute. Then there was New York Minute Hardcore. No.
Jeez.
No, come on, Rockstar. You're better than that, all right?
And the game's not that good to play through it that many times, to be fair.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I second that. Multiple playthroughs. Don't do it. Gears of War is really bad for it because every time it comes out, you have to finish the game. Then you can unlock insane difficulty.
Which is why you get some unlucky person who's already done it on Insane to invite you to their
Yes.
game and just run through it for you.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't mind multiple playthroughs if the playthroughs are relative. If it's the same thing, that's bad.
Yes.
We won't go into it. Near a Tomato, multiple playthroughs, very different playthroughs, very
Yep.
like
Also,
that was
Oxenfree.
Oxenfree 2.
Oxenfree. Yep, you get very different experiences by playing through it in the different ways.
Yeah, that's okay.
If it's just repeating the same thing, but the bullet your enemies take a little bit longer to kill and you die a bit quicker, it's dumb.
Yeah.
As for
At least
things
let
like
me play that difficulty over from the start. So a couple of things I just want to touch on that Philip mentions here. So guide for collectibles, that make you use a guide for collectibles. I hate that. I do it because there's an achievement. I feel like a real deal every time I do it, but I hate having to do that. I think having collectibles in the game is okay, but having an achievement for collecting all of them or all of one type of them is irritating. And every time I think about this, I think about the coffee thermoses from Alan Wake. There was 100 of them, and you get literally no benefit for collecting them, other than an achievement. I think it was either at 25 or 50, and at 100. That sucks.
Is there a threshold you think you don't go beyond, like 75% of the collectibles okay, where you maybe come across most of it in natural play or exploring, but you might need to look up a guide for some of it?
It depends. It depends what they are. Now, I'm just going to quickly look this up while I talk, but
Okay.
I know that Bioshock 1 had an achievement for collecting all of the, what were they
Audio
called?
tapes.
The audio diaries, yeah.
Yep.
So I think in number 2, it was less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
And-
that's a distinct number, though.
I think another good
Find
example of that.
100.
Yeah, I think there was like 111 or something along those lines.
129.
Oh, right.
Which I still think is a little bit too high, but I think
That's about 80.
it's different for those collectibles because that's giving you something of pretty big value, you know?
Yeah.
I don't hate that achievement was in the first Bioshock. This one in the second one goes, hey, you can get 100 of them, find out the story of what's happening and why all these things are going on. But hey, if you don't want to collect them all, we're not going to force you. I still collected them all, but
Yeah.
you don't have to.
The other side of that is also the games that it's in. So, for example, Bioshock is a game where you tend to be scrounging around a lot, going in everywhere, looking for everything that you can find. You'll come across a lot of the stuff organically rather than something like the coffee thermoses, for example. You know, they'll just be sitting in the middle of nowhere around no batteries or ammo or anything. They're just out in the wilderness, and you just have to potentially find them.
Yeah. So what else here? Things you would never find on your own. I think I kind of agree, but I kind of don't. Like, I think about the things I would never find on my own. I think of a couple of different things in playing. What was that game I reviewed? Hello Neighbor Hide and Seek. I would never have found the majority of the error codes for getting out of the map. And to be honest, there's not that much there for them, but they're interesting to try and do go through the motions to get them. And the other thing I think of when I read that is the Extra Life logo in Contrast. Contrast, yeah. To go and find that. I think that's something really nice. I can kind of see Philip's point, though. Finish something in a certain amount of time, though. I cannot stand speedruns.
No, me neither.
Yeah. I think the only achievements I didn't get in the Doom 3 BFG edition were maybe the super hard difficulty ones and the speed runs, because I hate them. Absolutely hate them. I'm dreading the one in Braid when I start Braid. And the other one that I think of is the stupid time challenges in Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. There's time and score, both of them. It's like, hey, timing is bad enough, but you've got to get a certain score in that time as well. Isn't that fun? No, it isn't.
I mean, but then
It's not.
do you... I guess it depends on the game. If there are S ranks related to time and score, which a lot of S ranks
turn
are.
off for me.
No, you don't like them?
Turn off. No.
If the section is easily repeatable, if it's like an arcade style game like say Ninjin, where you can just pick this level, you can just, I mean, that's less egregious than, say, you have to start the playthrough over because you didn't do well.
It depends how generous the time allowance is as well.
Yeah.
But to answer the question broadly, I think a good achievement list is one that
An
takes
easy
you
one.
through the story. Yeah, not a super difficult one, but an achievement that takes you through the main features of the game and maybe shows you some things you didn't know were in the game, or gets you to play a certain different way that isn't normal to kind of get an achievement, to get you to do something interesting that perhaps you weren't aware of. And I think of, even though I didn't do them, but the skulls in the Halo games, where you had to, like, doing grenade jumps.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at Halo. I didn't know what a grenade jump was until I started going for some of those skulls. And just stuff like that. It takes you through an interesting mechanic of the game that you might not have been aware of. Like grenade jumping in the Quake games, if they had achievements. It's just stuff that's interesting. Like, you spent hours making this game. Show me something interesting about it that I'm not going to come across.
Yeah, I think one of those ones that and it's obviously it's an older game, so things have gotten better. But I think one of the ones that really interested me about achievements early on was the original Crackdown, actually, because it was quite a wide open world. There was a lot of collectibles. There was achievements for that, which was not super great. But there was a lot of stuff around, like, okay, well, climb to the top of the tallest building. It's the kind of thing that most people would do anyway if you were a superhero. So it's like, yeah, we'll give you an achievement for doing it. It's like, and then we'll give you another achievement for jumping off it and falling into the water and not dying. And then it's like, and, kill a bunch of enemies with a giant globe that we happen to find. Just like fun things to make you just put you in a playground and said, hey, do these things. We'll reward you for messing about and just doing some fun stuff. And then you go and find 500 and jelly orbs and you hear the sound in your sleep. But that's, the other side of it.
Or using the dubstep gun in, I think it was Saints Row 3.
Yeah.
It's like I probably wouldn't have used that gun if it wasn't for that achievement. And you know what? It's wop, 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 that's, I can still hear the noise. That's sick.
Grinds beyond 2 times natural playthrough. So if you have if your natural playthrough gets you about 1,000 kills, I wouldn't mind. Like, it'd be annoying, but up to 2,000 kills would be acceptable to me, because that's 2 natural playthroughs. Beyond that, you're getting a bit. You're doing it for the sake of
overstaying your
longevity.
welcome.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't mind the speed runs that much if it's not super punishing. If you have to be pixel perfect throughout the whole thing, that's not a good achievement. If you give me leeway to make mistakes, if you're, again, like I said, if it's generous but still challenging for me, like the Ori runs. The Ori speed runs, I think, are a good example, where when you're attempting speed runs, you've probably played the game enough to know where you need to go, so you just need to not stuff up too many times, really. And even then,
just avoid the tree fight, sure.
If you're attempting the speed run, the tree fight is easy at that point, honestly. You've done it enough times that the tree is easy.
All right.
I'm still with you on that one, Alex.
I actually haven't played Ori. I just know
just
the
the
tree
speed
is
runs,
a
I think he
sticking
means.
point. Oh, the speed runs. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Speed runs, nah.
100% speed runs, bad. Any percent speed runs, good.
I have said on this podcast before, I know as achievement hunters, we're mental.
Yeah.
But speedrunners, man, they're something else. They are a whole different breed of gamer. It's impressive. It's kind of scary. at times, the dedication they have into it, but I think that speedrunners are the most hardcore type of gamer.
Yeah, I would probably agree. I mean, there are other subsets around rhythm games and people who get crazy into shmups and stuff. But I think, yeah, you're right. The sort of speedrunner tend to be the ones who run the gambit. No pun intended.
Got jokes. All right. Well, Philip, I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, I mean, come have a chat with us in Discord. I'm pretty sure you're in our Discord as well. You can say, hey, what's going on? I think speedruns are really good, actually. No, actually, you said they weren't. All right. I'm just going to stop putting my foot in my mouth like I'm...
That's fine.
Yeah.
Also, multiplayer achievements are the worst.
Yeah.
I don't want to play with others.
Okay.
Titanfall 2 did multiplayer well. Win a match.
I will agree with you.
Join a clan or whatever. As soon as you get above 10 matches above that, especially if they win, that's where I start to fall off.
Yeah, you need to get good, Chin.
I can get good, I just don't want to play with you.
Well, you're not playing with me. Why you keep telling me to play Rocket League with you?
That's not against you, though. That's what I mean. Like, I don't.
That's not what you said, though, is it? I don't want to play with you. That's what you said.
It's because Kiwi says, invite Alex. He's good. He's good bloke. And I say, all right then.
What are you talking about? Oh, you just... All right. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can send us an email. You can find our email address. hello@realgamerscore.com. You can send us tweets on Twitter @RealGamerscore. The Discord to join the conversation one more time is discord.io/RealGamerscore. And the Patreon is patreon.com/RealGamerscore. You can also write a question into the show the same way Philip Wendell did, and we'll get through those as we get them. If you're also interested in being in the show, like we have mentioned, there is a bit of a line at the moment. But hey, get into the line now, and you never know. You might end up on the show when other members can't be here. That makes it sound like we just plucked up Matt.
I was going to say, you're looking at me like you're just going to off me and bring
Matt was already on the list, but we got pushed up a couple of weeks because Warren couldn't make it. I hope Warren's having a good day at work.
Yeah.
But yeah, send a message to me. Probably in the Discord is the best place because you can send me a sample of the audio and just let me know you want to be on the show. All right. Matt, super special guest, where can people find you if they would like to say, hey, you know how you've got 1 million gamer score?
So if you want to do that, True Achievements is usually the best place. That's where I am. That's where I answer all my Q&A fan questions from all those wonderful bots that add me and say, hey, baby.
Hey, are you busy?
Yeah.
I found you on a list of servers and...
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they're recruiting for that game we didn't talk about.
I'm in.
Oh, man. What? Oh, God, I lost my train of thought. And then I suppose you could probably hit me up on the Discord. I spend an inordinate amount of time in there trying to get people to play video games with me. And just chatting absolute crap most of the time.
All right. Kirby, where can people find you if they wanted to tell you similar things?
If they wanted to tell me that they found me on a list somewhere, they could contact me on True Achievements or Discord or Twitter or on Xbox Live, or usually Xbox Live, let's be honest. Or you can watch me on Mixer in all your weird lists. All of these places at ChinDocta, ChinDocta. Please don't watch me and then send me messages. Also, if you send me messages on Xbox Live, I'm not ignoring you. I just have those notifications turned off and then notice them a week later, so I apologize. I'm not a terrible person because of that. I'm a terrible person because of other reasons, like I sell animals in Zoo Tycoon. Baby animals.
Chin's not taking questions at this time.
I turned them off ages ago, and I always forget to turn it back on, and then I see a message a week later and go, oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to ignore you. I can't answer this question now, though, because it's been a week, and that would be weird. Because it's like, oh, are you up for playing something now? I'm like, oh, that was 7 days ago. No. Doesn't quite work.
Alright, if someone wanted to contact me as well, you can find me on Xbox, True Achievements, Twitter, and Mixer. That's Professor Pluto. I am streaming some games that I play from my random to-do list, so you can find me there more regularly than, let's say, in the last 6 months where I haven't really streamed. You can also find me on Twitch, Professor Pluto 1. Okay, 40 episodes. We're done. Episode 40 in the bag. Alright. See you later, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you episode 41. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.